Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 40. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined as always by my fearless friends Jody.
Senesovia kabadonde a indovenia.
And Willie.
Yay! How can I top that? Yay! Hey, I'm here. Hey.
Joe, that's a lot of words you rattled off there.
They are words. That's right. Old tongue. I'm practicing my old tongue pronunciation. I think I could be good at this.
I picked that up. The Salvinia's luck or something.
Yes.
In
Very
hindsight
good.
now, yes. But you put a bit of like a Russian or like Eastern European spin on it.
Right, eh? That's just how it comes out. When I look at the words and I say them out loud, I get this whole like Russian vibe.
Yes. Huh. Interesting. I like that. Yeah, you said that like a pro.
I've been practicing.
In front of the mirror in the morning, after shower.
No, just yesterday, lying on the bed, reading the book.
Huh.
Yeah.
You've become our official old tongue pronunciation experts. Whenever there's old tongue stuff now, we're gonna have to have you read it out.
There we go.
Explain it to us.
Shit. Okay.
Did you remember all your homework, Jody?
What homework?
You had like heaps of homework, mate. You like so
No,
much.
I didn't. You lying.
There's a number of episodes where we've given Jody homework and just I've ended up doing it anyway. Honestly, by the time the next episode rolls around, I can't remember what I tasked Jody with. I should take notes though. I should. Maybe I should outsource some of the stuff.
Don't do that.
No, not a fan.
No.
Well, guys, what does that smell?
It's not me.
The
Smell of a
new
new book.
Ah!
Yes, Billy.
Yeah.
Yes. Points for Billy.
Jody's
Excellent.
immediately defensive. Wasn't me.
Methinks the lady doth protest too much.
Can't be me. I'm in a whole other continent.
Man, remember in the last episode I said I remember loving this book, and I still cannot for the life of me remember exactly why that is. But reading these first couple chapters of this book,
Yeah.
I am primed and ready to go. Hey, like there is so much already revealing itself, Forsaken and all kinds of stuff.
Let me just say, reading this book and the first 4 chapters, prologue and 1 to 3, has been like reading a book that I've never read before. Because I do not remember any of this.
Amazing.
Absolutely none of it. It was great.
Right.
Well, similarly, yeah, like, I mean, you remember sort of, yeah, Elaida, she's such a bitch, right? Like, that's what I remember.
As
And
one
then
does.
And then you read these passages and you're like, oh, yes, that's why I have this perception of her, because she is a raging bitch. Like, she is just, the worst. But let's not...
Yes.
Let's keep that for the
Let's not
chapters.
engage, with that thought just yet.
We'll get there.
There will be time. Has anyone read ahead? Are we all up to
No.
chapter 3 of book 5? Excellent.
I'm really tempted, like because it was especially now with winter coming again. I say that it's such an ominous, like winter's coming. But for those who are out of the swing, winter in Melbourne, Victoria, is really like living in Mordor. It's kind of bad. There's a lot
what
of
you should
time
do?
to play video games and read books.
You should, play a lot of video games, but you should also
Yeah, do
read... you should read the Stormlight Archive.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could do that. I've now got
And Mistborn and blah, 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 blah.
audiobooks. So I'm working through a long list of audiobooks every day, 6 hours a day at work. It's been great.
You should be working at work, Willie.
I was about to say, I hope your boss doesn't know about this.
My job is autonomous, man. I just have to push buttons, and it's like Homer Simpson doing his thing in the nuclear power plant. You don't have to really concentrate. That's my job, so I really enjoy. I've worked through Dune. I'm in Dune Messiah at the moment,
Ooh, nice.
which is very interesting.
It's different,
Very different. very, very into it at the moment, I must say.
Keep going. Children of Dune also
Yeah.
awesome. You're going to love Children of Dune.
Oh, yeah. I'm nearly there.
Okay, before we list out all of our favorite sci-fi and fantasy books for Billy to read in a single winter while he's supposed to be doing work, let's quickly jump into callbacks so that we can get stuck in. My confusion about Devon Ride and Watch Hill coming to the aid of Eamon's Field, I think stems from the fact that I missed something probably obvious that you guys caught onto or interpreted in the right way, because I read the words and they registered, but they meant something else to me. When Fail asked Perrin, did the men from Devon Ride come as well? I thought that to mean that she had somehow actioned them to coming to their aid. But she just had the suspicion from the man that died when he gave the message. I mean, you mentioned the man that
I
died.
thought I really explained that well. I mean, I listened
Clearly
to the
not.
episode and I clearly understood what I explained there. But I mean, I've been known to not explain things well. So.
No, I think you explained it fine. I think you didn't understand what my confusion was about, and therefore did not articulate the key, the magic 3 words that would have made a penny drop for me. I'm also an idiot sometimes, right? Like, I mean, that was staring me right in the face. But I had thought that Fail was insinuating that she had somehow initiated the aid from Devon Ride as well. But
no, she reluctantly held back on giving Perrin the hope.
Yes,
and she just felt
that part
it
I
would
got.
be yeah.
Vil, you said that you think no Eamon's Fielders died in that battle.
I still believe it.
I went back and read it. There's no mention.
Exactly. I said that.
When I said that the insinuation is that some of those boys have never shaved and some never will, you said, okay, well, that's Perrin's, opinion. Or that's what he's thinking. Yeah. And that is true. The only injuries that I could read about, there were only 2. Dahl Copland catches a Trolloc spear to the thigh, but is pulled away while people are defending him. And Basil Gill has blood coming from his head, and he's lost his cap, but he didn't die. And they don't mention anyone dying. They say the line breaks and that sort of stuff, but no deaths.
Robert Jordan likes to tell us about the death of innocence. He does. So many times you read about this poor person that died. And Jody, you said it so eloquently, like the reminder of the stone. You still use the hashtag remember the stone.
Remember the stone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we get told when someone dies, it carries weight. I took very, very fine note of it that no one was mentioned to die in that battle. And I really wish that the Children of the Light fought in that battle. And
so some of them could die.
They all died.
So they could possibly die. They could have died. I may have been overzealous with my crude words the last time around because I was really affected. But yes.
But it is noteworthy. I mean, you're right. It is noteworthy that it is not called out specifically when, I don't know if RJ, took pleasure in saying it, but he certainly does not shy away from it. And like you said, he makes a big deal about Rand and everyone sort of reciting the names. Perrin, when some of the boys died in that ambush in the forest. There's multiple names listed out there.
Yeah, big time.
And none of that here, which is noteworthy and a great pickup. Well, I mean, I completely missed that as well. Maybe I was just on autopilot last time. I did confirm it was Nynaeve that saw Asmodean snooping around Rhuidean in Tel'aran'rhiod. It was in that same sequence where when she jumps from there, she goes to Eamon's Field and Slayer shoots an arrow at her. It's in that section.
Stupid Asmodean.
Joe, you were sort of lamenting how convenient it is for Rand to always just channel by instinct and just weave all these fantastical weaves and everything. And I threw out there that I think it might be a talent, capital T talent. Channeling by instinct is not a talent. Fast learning is a talent where if someone sees a weave, they can immediately replicate it. And a lot of our protagonists here have that talent. But what also happens is that all wilders do channel by instinct. At least initially, until they're taken in by the tower or anything like that. And this is something I never thought about, but Rand is a wilder.
I was just going to ask that. Do we consider Rand to be a wilder?
We have to.
He mentions it in this book, in my chapter.
Oh, does he? Okay, well, there we go. So, I mean, I know that it happens a lot. now in book 5, right? And okay, cool. Now he's got a teacher that will show him some stuff. But up until now, he's done some incredible stuff with the one power, and it's all been by instinct. I mean, that is quite a stretch, but there's a precedent. Nynaeve, everything she's done thus far.
Lose therein. I have proof in my chapter. We'll get there. Let's go.
When Rand channels between Lanfear and Asmodean, when Lanfear's got Asmodean held up in the air with weaves of air, Joe, you said that Rand channels balefire between them. I don't think that was balefire. The description is slightly different. There's like a lightning effect, and the stuff it hits explodes. It doesn't flicker out of existence, and it leaves like a rut in the ground and blah, blah, blah. Then I went online and I went and found all the instances of balefire, and I couldn't find that specific instance listed, and I'm laughing at myself already because I'm trying to justify making the statement for, in case any pedants out there ever want to call us up on what we said on the podcast, when I am the only person that ever does that. No,
I am the pedant.
I'm the pedant. So maybe this is a bit of navel gazing, or just satisfying my own pedantry. But yeah, that's what I think.
Gotcha.
We pontificated around how long we think the time span of the Shadow Rising is, and I went and I looked at that. It's 2 months.
2 months. God.
Yeah. I also went back and I reread that passage do you remember when Rand meets Haddan Kadir? And he says, we even mentioned on the podcast, he acts really strangely. He starts muttering under his breath, and he says to Matt, "We ride with evil now, Matt.
Yeah,
watch yourself."
I remember that.
And then he goes, "Wish that I have your luck, Matt. It has begun, and there's no turning back now, however the blade falls." This is all related to what we learned in the last episode of Rand actually knowing that there's a trap, that there are Forsaken around, and he even says, it's the Glee Man. I thought it was Kadir.
Yes.
So that's like when he's talking that way, he's standing next to Matt talking about a Forsaken that he can see with his naked eye standing in front of him. And he is just like, he's chuckling under his breath. He's like, okay, let's see where this is going, which is crazy.
Ballsy.
Yeah, I'll go with crazy.
Okay, but bear in mind, this is a man that has now ended 4 Forsakens already. 3.5. How do you
killed
count
Ishamael. He killed
Belal.
Okay. Asmodean killed himself.
3.5.
He didn't kill Belal.
Asmodean.
Sorry, not Asmodean. Agenor.
Yeah.
The Green Man killed Belal.
Yeah.
Agenor killed himself. He stabbed Ishamael with Calandor, so that one's his. But Moraine killed Belal with Balefire. So he's killed one.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
By stabbing.
But he's faced 4.
Not even using the one power.
He survived an encounter with 4 of them, killed one of them. It's still noteworthy.
He's had some pretty steamy makeout sessions with another one in a dream pool.
Oh, yes. Man, Lanfear. I might. Yeah, don't worry. Carry on.
Handshake. Okay, then we also have a couple of fan submissions. Ian Yellen writes in again, coming through with the goods, saying to the passage that we spoke about where Rand he's shown in a vision from Min to be like holding a beggar's staff. Perrin sees Rand dressed as a beggar, and we thought like, why? I can't remember this time. And then we said, it's when he goes to Ibu Dar to go infiltrate or like suss out the Sean-Chan before making, a move with him or a bargain with him. He is a beggar, or is disguised as a beggar, and he's stooping low. Ian wrote in to say that a lot of the characters are, parallels to various mythologies, but specifically also Norse mythology. Like Matt is a Loki analog, and Rand is a combination of Tyr and Odin. Tyr, who loses a hand, and Odin, who canonically appeared as a beggar among mortals. So that might just be Robert Jordan sort of saying, okay, hey guys, draw this link. This is like Odin, or like maybe just subconsciously thinking he's very Odin. Like maybe I should enhance this beggar vision of his.
Beggar vision.
So thanks, Ian. Yeah, TM.
Is that your pedantry for the night?
No,
No, he's just turning the page.
get comfy. Jokes, no, there's not much more. Jason Hall returns to our show with the following contributions. He's still catching up. He's on episode 32 now. So he's just saying that Brandon Sanderson has actually confirmed that the Tinkers are not looking for a literal song. Where Jason is now, we talk about the visions, the Aiel visions in the glass columns, and the Aiel are singing with the Ogier. This is the song that the Tinkers are looking for. Bradley Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson have confirmed that the Tinkers are actually looking for something more, philosophical, like a way of life, the whole way of the leaf, and that peaceful utopia is the quote unquote song that they're looking for.
You mean they wanna level up their hippie nature, like they want to reach enlightenment completely.
They want to max out their hippie level. Yes.
Okay.
He also reminded us that when we spoke about those visions and the men that allowed the Aiel to dig water wells and were the sort of ancestors of what we know as Kyrenian, were sort of favored by the Aiel. It was because of that act that the Aiel gave the Kyrenian the sapling of Avendosora, and that is why, like they said, thank you. It was a thank you gift from them, and that's when King Lamon, when he cut it down, Aiel got pretty peeved and came and laid waste to Kyrian and sieged the tower and everything.
A lot of love for tree, man.
Yeah, quite a lot. He also says that the strongest channelers live around 800 years. So the Aes Sedai that we speculated about that came out from Rhuidean with the Dashane Aiel, they were probably in that area, right? Like they're described as being very, very old looking and decrepit almost. Like I think they were carried on sedan chairs and stuff. But because I think we were talking about, are they 3,000 years old? No, probably more like 800. Adrian wrote in to weigh in on what is the sling that Moraine is talking about when she says the sling has been used. And she quite rightly draws a link. I mean, she doesn't translate exactly what it means, but she says like there's a lot of imagery and wording used that draws parallels with King David, who was also a shepherd. Rand is a shepherd. A sling is a weapon often used by quote unquote famous shepherds like David and Rand. But like she was saying, maybe the sling reference is to specifically make that tie. Okay, the shepherd is the one that's holding the sword, so the sling has been used and now holds Calandor.
David and Goliath thing.
We mentioned David and Goliath in the episode, but we never actually made the connection with a sling and a shepherd, which Rand is, and what David was. And then lastly, I want to give a special shout out to Richard Jackson, who recently sent in an incredibly touching message to us and some other Wheel of Time community members and content creators. I mean, a small group of us on Twitter. And the three of us agreed after the podcast last week that we really should thank him for it, because it really means a lot to us, Richard. And like I said in my reply to you, we are so glad to have you as part of the extended family and, reciprocating by offering real value. So here's to many, many more episodes of collaborating together.
Indeed. Thanks, Richard.
Absolutely.
You hit me right in the feels there, man. Right in the feels.
Oh, man, you really did.
Big time.
Okay, that's the end of Callbacksville. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of, just the finale for Book 4 before we delve into this one. The Emonsfielders fought off Slayer's army of Trollocs with Perrin leading the effort, and then the women coming in at the crunch, and both Watchhill and Devon Ride clinching it for the good guys, the White Cloaks doing nothing, and then being driven out of the Two Rivers completely. Rand addresses the Aiel at Alcaid Dal, and he and Couladin both proclaim themselves as he who comes with the dawn. The gathered chiefs realize that Rand is the true Kar Arkan, and say as much, and then chaos ensues, and then Lanfear shows up, and Rand skims to Rhuidean, where he and Asmodean have a fight with the One Power, Rand ultimately winning, Lanfear arriving and shielding Asmodean to sort of prevent him from being able to channel too much, so that he can teach Rand how to channel the male half of the Source. And then Rand and Asmodean return to Alcaidal to find the Shido have left in defiance of Rand's sort of claim of being the Kara Khan, along with other Aiel who found Rand's revelations about their past too confronting. And that was the end of that book. And that brings us now to the prologue of The Fires of Heaven, called The First Sparks Fall. Take it away, Willie.
Now, if you were hoping that this is going to be anything like the last time I did the first reading of a chapter, it's not, because it's nowhere near as exciting. The book was written, Jody, how many years after book 4? 5?
I said these books, the beginning of the series, no, they came out pretty regularly, like 2 to 3 years after each other. So
no,
not like Game of Thrones
there's
gaps.
a real like recap over here. But we start off with being in the tower. We've got a new Amberlin seat, Elaida, who is sitting in a study, getting debriefed on what would be sort of like a monthly meeting or weekly meeting. We've got Denelle, the brown sister there. We've got Teslin, the red.
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Book 4 came out in 92. Book 5 came out in 93.
All right.
Jeez,
That's
he was
a
on
long
mission,
break.
eh?
Anyway, Teslin.
There, yeah, we've got Teslin, the red, Ileana's sister. We've got Alviarin, obviously the white sister, who is now the keeper of the keeper. Jolene, the green. Shimmerin, the yellow. Javindra, the red. Evanel Jessica. Evangeline, grey, and Daya, the grey. And they all sitting doing their sort of debrief to Elaida from an updating of topics of the blight sort of receding, or to the point where Davram Bashir is pulling his troops away from the north and into the south, which is really remarkable. Like that's a big change in the advancement of the blight. You've got updates from the fact that Amathera has gone missing in Tarabon. Elaine is still missing, which we know. Morghese has a lover, which we'll touch on quite a bit. Gowan is just absolutely raucous. He's now picking fights with the White Cloaks outside every gate. And the White Cloaks are peace brokers. Pedronel is now brokering peace between all the Western states, if you want to say that.
But we know what his designs are, right?
His designs is evil. Evil. But no one touches in their briefing update on what she really wants to know, and that's 2 things. Where the fuck is Swan? Where is Loghain? And no one wants to talk about the fact that Randall Thor's the Dragon Reborn. So prior to them dismissing themselves from their meeting and getting out of there, she forces them to look at the paintings behind her. One which is of Bonewind, which is the Red Sister, that was the last Red Sister to hold the title of being an Amerlin seat, who was she stilled and like killed? Or just, I can't remember now.
Just stilled.
She was just stilled. And that was because of the war with being surrounded by what is his name now? Arthur Hawkwing.
Yeah. She was trying to
manipulate the way she handled. Yes.
Badly.
And the other painting is not a painting. It's done on canvas. The first one is still done on 3 wooden boards. That was before the time of canvas and oil. Then you get to the time of canvas and oil, and there's a painting of 2 guys having a fight in the sky. And it's Rand and Old Ishi having a little full go back at Falmain. And she makes them look at them like that is what I want to know about. why do we not have Randall Thor in our control yet? And Elaida is now like pretty pissed off. Like she's pretty worked up.
Now, now I'm angry.
She's, but what I read behind all of this is that she chose allies for rebellion, and she achieved a rebellion. And in her achieving a rebellion, everyone feels that they had equal part to the cake. And now it's like, no, there's only one chief. You still have to conform to the laws and the structures of the tower. And I think the biggest one needing to be reminded of this is, of course, our black sister, Alviarin. Our white sister, Alviarin. That hasn't really fallen in with that structure at all.
Yeah, that's who these women are. They are the women that literally marched into Swan's study with Elaida when they deposed her. It's the same group of women.
So you should never trust people who lead a rebellion to run a country. That has been proven time and time again in places where there's been coup d'etats. But that's exactly what the tower is. She basically threatens them with severe penance if they do not come back to her at the next meeting with real information. To which a rap at the door gets them to depart, and we move to Act 2 of the prologue.
Billy's really bored. What's this Act 2, Billy?
All right, so when we left off last episode, we mentioned Paden Fane was going to the tower. Well, that dirtbag has made it to the tower again. He's there, and he requested an audience with Admiralin, and somehow miraculously weaseled him into having a nice black velvet coat. He's all been cleaned up and dressed up again and looked after. And he's going to be telling Elaida all about Randall Thor.
It sounds like he's been coming in and talking to Elaida a couple times, right? Like this is not the
first sitting.
This is like a common fixture now.
He's been in, he's been cleaned, he's been dressed. He's coming for his like weekly sit down to gossip about Rand. And all he's thinking is, where's the horn of Elaida? Where's my fucking dagger? Because I can feel it.
He knows where the dagger is.
He can point to it. He knows exactly where it is. But the majority of that act is Paden Fane's insanity in his own head. Like, he's a nutbag on another level. None of it is new. All of it is known. His insanity, his desires, but it's just in a new place with a new person to corrupt. He has now worked through the Children of the Light. Ordeath is past. He speaks in several different accents and sometimes in the same sentence would change. So that would be a strange thing to sit through. But somehow he captivates people with power. And he's got Elaida. Now he's there.
Now, pause quickly. There is a number of episodes ago, we were talking about Elaida and how, like, is she really as bad as we remember? And I think we've all, both on and off the air, confirmed, yes, she is as bad, if not worse than I remember. And some people have thrown her a bone because of this repeat exposure to Paden Fane. Because he's got that corrupting influence on people just by being around them. Moraine talks about it in Feldara. Just by being him being around.
He talks about it now. Like, I don't want to go back to Shadow Logoth. Like, to be stuck in that...
Well, I mean, I just wonder if his influence on Elaida in this short time, sort of... She's got obvious cracks in her personality and in the way that she runs the tower and stuff. If he's like wide in some of those, like cracked her psyche a bit more than it was to begin with. I mean, she's a prime candidate.
You use the words crack, and he uses it exactly. It's like there are many cracks to plant seeds in and split them open. Like,
oh God, did he plant a seed in me?
Oh,
yes.
you, dark friend.
Shit.
No, he really is not him, not Paden Fane. And
Mordeth.
I'm going to give all credit to Mordeth. Mordeth knows how to exploit the division in power. He knows how to find that small little hate that you have. And like she's got a hatred for Rand al'Thor. And he's going to exploit that. That is his, but he's got alternative motives. And
Also, he's got magic, right? Like I'm reading this as not just him being sort of insidious and planting ideas in people's heads and talking his way through it. I feel like he has a corruptive aura.
He has got corruption.
Just by being around people, it spreads a sickness of, distrust. And I mean,
It's
obviously
magic.
amplified by what he's saying.
His corruption is magic. It is him being around you spreads his corruption.
But he's also political. He's smart. Like he's planting seeds. He's giving people ideas. He's pushing this way. He's pushing his agenda. He is a very, very disruptive force.
Incredibly. Not to be discounted. And that's why I say, like, man, they should have taken him out. And like I've said so many times, the Aes Sedai are mean. And even in this very chapter, you read about Elaida saying what she would do to Swan and Moraine when she gets her hands on them. She's like very, very like
vicious.
Yeah, man, she's a horrible. Like, even to the likes of, I don't care who this accepted is that's bringing this person in. Like they're all just numbers.
The phrase is she doesn't even see or hear novices or accepted, and she cares even less.
No, she's just
awful. Anyway, continue.
Yes, we've established this. She is awful. Anyway, the meetings in the tower is over, but there's more meetings to be had. Rhuidean is interviewing, or interviewing is such a bad term to use when you got someone under compulsion. But he's got one of the Red Sisters in Camelin, unnamed Red Sister, that he is putting through a paces. She's a puppet in Camelin and all she's doing is just spewing information to Rhuidean. He is sitting like leg over the chair arm. He's as cozy as you can get when all of a sudden Lanfear says to him, "Oh, you really think you should be that like careless?" And he sort of jumps up. Lanfear informs him that, hey, FYI, we're having a little meeting. We're not having a Dark Friend social, but this is like the Dark Friend after party that they're having in this prologue.
Only the VIPs are allowed.
Yeah, just some of the bigger players, like the managing directors of the Dark Friends that's getting together. And just there'll be more showing up. Just I'm here first to warn you that this is not an attack on you, so just chill the fuck out. And with that, Samael walks in through his gate. I almost said way gate. His traveling gate.
His gateway. You almost there.
Yeah. It's gateway, way gate. The clever play on words there.
Not really. So just actual words.
And then followed by Grendel, who is looking as voluptuous as anything else. They basically touch bases on the fact that Rand is more powerful, and Lanfear tells him that he has killed 4. Her words. As Modian has now shifted sides, he is...
Yeah. She throws him under the bus immediately.
She throws him
straight away.
She said she would.
Bait. And she did. Like, he didn't even have to do anything wrong, the poor fucker. He's like, just like, that's it. Your lineage is
forsaken, rude. No mercy.
Yeah, go on.
No sympathy.
No sympathy for the devil.
Oh, man, I'm a bit of a dark friend, so just poor guy.
Tis true.
Like, you don't want to be thrown under the bus by your own kind. That's weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have their little meeting about Rand al'Thor and how he could very easily rock up and face them and kill potentially any one of them. Lanfear has been at this meeting also a little bit pushed about the fact that it's Lewis Theron, and how does that play into a decision making. Grendel being Grendel is all about being sexy and having lords and ladies as a servants to sit on and hold the wine goblets. It's a typical what is the word I'm looking for? We used it so many times. Full of themselves, of like just confidence between these Forsaken that they are the shit. They really rule the roost. And yet that the end of that meeting was kind of tense, where it seemed almost that Grendel and Lanfear was going to have a go at each other, and the men bracing themselves for all-out balefire. And
there was a cool scene. Like the two dudes are like, "Oh my god, here it comes, guys!"
Ooh, they know.
Hold on to your butts.
They can feel it in their skin. Those ladies are holding the power.
And,
probably too bursting.
Luckily, that trailed off, and it ends that very wordy chapter in the sense that there's a lot of recap of what we know and what we recently know, like where all the pawns are on the table. It's like a recap of the chessboard. The chessboard haven't moved. We know where things are happening. We get a little bit of new information, but we don't get like great plotting. We just know who the players are that are together.
Well, we're seeing some of the pieces for the first time. It's the first time we see Grendel. It's the first time we see Samael. We knew Samael was in, I mean, unless you count like dreams or something like that. But I mean, when Samael, Ravin, and Ishamael have that sort of argument at one point in the ways.
He was known. Like there was even in Moraine's plans, like gather an army of Tia and move on Ilian because Samael is there. Like it was known, but it's the first time that we see him.
Yeah. And we do get some of the plotting. We get to see them plotting, but we don't know what the plot is. Like Ravin, at the chapter ends with Ravin saying like, I like what Lanfear is saying, and even if it doesn't work out, this will be in my favor. What will be in your favor? What won't work out?
I think what they're saying is that the four of them will be sort of this uneasy alliance.
Yes.
That they are not including Morgidian in it. Can't trust her enough, like as far as you can trust these guys. Demondred, no time for him. They don't know where Semirog is.
I know you are a Survivor fan because I am too. This is like a Survivor alliance. That's
a Survivor alliance doomed to fail.
Yes,
it's the one that you can see. This is not going to last.
No, this is not going to last long.
At the first opportunity, these guys are going to quite literally stab each other.
Exactly, in the backs or in the throat,
repeatedly all over the place. Yeah, no, it's it was for me. It was shocking is not the right word, but like. The profile of these four people speaking together in the same place was noteworthy. You know, like here you are seeing, four level bosses standing next to each other, talking to each other. These are big bads, right? I mean, I think Ravin is second only in the one power to Ishamael and Rand, I think, in strength.
He's a big player. But now,
big time.
The Dark Friend Social, that was all run by Ishi. There was no other Forsaken but Ishi there.
Yeah.
So this is a much bigger meeting than the Dark Friend Social because this doesn't include the lower level bosses, like so much higher. This should be spoken about more in depth. Or it's just a pity that we don't get good planning. Like we meet each other, we're scared of each other, but there's no sort of laying down.
My comment. We don't get the details of the plan. There's an alliance, obviously, but what are your plans? We don't get that.
We don't get that. Hopefully we get some inkling of what their sort of alliance is working towards in this book, but maybe not. You know, this is still a prologue, so maybe this is one of those things like just here's a little seed, here's a little tidbit. These four Forsaken are working together. What are they working on? Read and find out. You're not going to know just yet. It's not going to be the plot for this book. You know, it might be something that starts resurfacing repeatedly. I guess, having no memory of this.
Lanfear was in there, so I'm happy.
Yeah. You just like reading about it. Did you guys notice that when Grendel steps through her gateway, that there's all these beautiful people in next to no clothing, like in the background,
and one
old guy in a wrinkled coat.
I did.
You know who that was?
Yeah, there's all Fast
Jane
Rider.
Fast Rider? Yeah.
I read up about this. She apparently, in his case, because of his prominence and his reputation, used compulsion on him and took him as hers, despite the fact that he's not beautiful like all the other trophies that she takes.
It's got a beautiful story. She's drawn to his adventure.
He shows up throughout the story in like these little flashes, and I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled. Invite you guys to do the same to see like which old guy is Jane Foster.
Definitely have to. What I do notice here is that compulsion seems to be the go-to card for these guys too. And I mean, we don't even touch on Lord Gabriel. We will get there.
I'll get to him. But yeah, like they don't have time. They don't have time to mess around. Yeah, just instantaneous compulsion. Hello, who are you? Compulsion. Tell me everything. Thank you.
Tell me.
And why? And why wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They have no scruples.
There's a lot more powerful tools than hurting someone.
Yeah, if you don't have to, it's easier. It's faster. It's like a main line to their ultimate goal. I've made a mistake already. I'm going to pedant myself right now.
Ooh.
We have read about 5 Forsaken. I know we read about Asmodean, but in Elaida's study is Masana.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Now is
Danelle.
Who is
Danelle
is Masana?
Right. The brown, right?
Damn, that I completely forgot about that. Like, I was reading a Danelle, and I was like, what was it about Danelle? I'm like, what is it about
it was
Danelle?
just old high school girlfriend.
She tricked, and what completely triggered with me the whole time was that Danelle wrote all the letters to Swan about asking for masons, and like I went down that whole path where she opened up
she didn't write a letter to Swan. Swan went through the ledgers. Like she noticed in a sort of like a ledger that there are way too many masons being introduced for this piece of work on the library or whatever it was, and those guys ended up being soldiers or mercenaries that participated in the coup at the tower.
So you're saying that a Forsaken left a paper trail?
Yes.
Yes.
I better write down all these soldiers that I'm recruiting, put it somewhere in a ledger.
Or maybe a clerk or someone. Maybe these people have to be fed and housed and that sort of stuff.
She probably has a clerk. I can't see Masana sitting down at night and doing her ledgers for the White Tower.
Giggling to herself, I wonder if they'll figure this one out.
Other than this, we've also not heard much of Masana at all. I mean, we have Gideon.
You don't for some time.
She's still very, very quiet in the background. And thank God, because she's just horrible.
Yeah. So about that meeting, I have quite a lot of things to say about Elaida's meeting. First of all, Elaida, I'll stop saying how much I hate her, but makes the other Aes Sedai in the room sit on stools, right? Power play. Yeah. I'll sit on this lavish chair, you sit on stools. No chairs for you, sorry. She's still blaming all her problems on Swan. I mean, take some responsibility. Jesus.
That's not her style.
It sure isn't, no.
As the Amberlin seat of the Aes Sedai, I'm not going to take responsibility for anything.
No, it's that other one's fault. Yes. Yeah. Thanks,
previous
Obama.
administration.
Thanks, Swan. But Swan is aware of Pedro Niall's attempt to hold sway in the West. Like we hinted at it now, that the reports were coming in, and we know that is exactly what Pedro Niall is trying to do. He is starting to make plans over there so that he can unite those under the banner of the White Cloak, so that he can be the one that fights the Dark One at the final. He wants to do it himself.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Get off your high horse.
Yeah. Delusions of grandeur.
Big time.
Big time. Billy, you and I are in sync tonight. Crazy that they are writing fake letters to Morghese about Elaine's whereabouts.
I thought they couldn't lie.
They can't speak a word that is not true.
Ooh.
So they can words
write,
are not spoken.
They can write lies.
Of course they can. Why not? Doesn't break the oath.
Fucking oaths.
That
Hey?
is a cock oath. It's like a really bad
Sneaky
oath.
fucking hobbits. I love that Gowan apparently is like, Elaida makes a comment like he listens to himself. He acts on his own as much as he listens to us. He's already like, he's so confused. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So he's
like
picking fights
he's
with
like
white
a
cloaks.
dog
Which,
now fighting everything.
You know how everyone hates Gowan, and I'm waiting for the time when I'm going to start hating him, but not yet. Right now, I'm still on Team Gowan. Elaida's plan for Rand is to have him shielded and locked up in the tower until the final battle.
How does
Great
that even
plan.
how?
Let
Wow.
loose.
Like
And he was
we'll
immediately
we'll
killed.
throw
him.
You like this holy hand grenade that we're just gonna lob at the dark one in the mouth of Shire Ghoul, and then say hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is ridiculous. Elaida is already planning on dismantling this council because she's actually she wants to transition from using these Aes Sedai as her main support to the Hall. She wants to utilize the actual mechanisms of the tower. And as she's sitting here listening to these women, she's already thinking about this council in this format is not going to last much longer. They've served their purpose. I've used them now, and something else is going to happen. Which again, she is just totally delusions of grandeur, right? Like thinking what level of control she's going to have in the tower. And the way that she tries to maintain control is just by dishing out punishment. Left, right, and center. Everyone, you go to the north. I'm going to deal with her later. Blah, and I've got a little write-up on each of the Aes Sedai that we read about here, and I'll tell you exactly what she does to poor Shimmerin. I highlighted all the names of all the Aes Sedai that are named in this chapter in my book. And then I went and I did a little reading on each of them, just so that I can, this time around, when I read the name of an Aes Sedai, I want to know who I'm reading about. I don't want it like in the past. I have read names and they just fly right over my head, right? Like insert Aes Sedai name here, did a thing.
I'm very guilty of that in the past.
Yeah.
I think most people are, because there is just a fucking shit ton of them, right? Like there's so many to keep track of.
2,800 named characters in these books. I think someone is keeping track. A
It's
billion.
a
I'm way off. It's a billion.
So I just wanted to quickly, I say quickly, but hurry me along if this takes too long.
2 hours later.
Yes, everyone knows. Sorry, everyone in advance.
Everyone brace yourself. Morris is going to say something quickly.
Okay. Get comfy. Here comes a quick recap. Danelle, I won't spend more time on her. We know she's Masana. Teslin is a sitter in the Hall. She's later demoted from the Hall. Elaida demotes her. She's not a sitter anymore. And she sends her as an emissary to Ibudar, where she's eventually made Damane, and is later then freed by Matt. She travels with Matt and Valen Lucas Circus. She later saves Matt's life against the Golem. She eventually leaves Matt, but pledges her debt to him and says to him, "Send for me if you ever need me." You know that thing they laugh about the men always saying. She says, "Like I will come for you." And in the last battle, she actually fights with the Dragonsworn and assists Matt with gateways, moving Ogier armies around. Like she goes from Elaida's crony all the way over across to Matt and actually fights with Matt in the last battle.
What Aja
How cool
is
is that? Oh, I think she's red. Oh, no. Call back.
Teslin is a red.
There you go.
But the thing that has to be said is that because they supported Elaida in Elaida's influence of gathering troops, as so to say, to overthrow Swan, doesn't mean they were dark friends. There's
No.
Yeah, so there's, I mean...
Elaida's not a dark friend.
No, Elaida's not a dark friend. She's just an idiot.
Yes.
We're being kind.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't mean that it's, that it is special that Teslin is fighting with the Dragonsworn. I don't mean that she's fighting on the light. I mean, she's not fighting with the tower.
Yeah.
She fights with a faction separate from the tower. that Matt is commanding. Jolene. Someone break out into Jolene, please.
It's already happening in my
Jolene,
head.
All of us.
Jolene, Jolene.
She actually accompanies Teslin most of the time, so going to Ibudar and stuff. Also joining Matt. At one point, Matt finds her slapping Bethaman. Now, remember, Bethaman is the Suldam that Yenin had captured.
Yep.
Who also joins with that group. I mean, what a weird confluence of people, hey? Like, that's why I want to do this, so that when it happens, it's fresh and it's solid. Whether that happens remains to be seen.
Fresh.
Be years away.
This is me trying. And Matt in that moment spanks her. He grabs her and he gives her a spanking. And she tries to channel at him, but it doesn't work because of his foxhead medallion.
The more the spanking then, is it? All right.
Yeah. Shimmerin. So the one that in this meeting also faints and has all these reactions, and Elaida thinks to herself, I'm going to have to make an example out of her. Shimmerin gets demoted to accepted. They strip her, Elaida strips her of the shawl, much to the, like the other Aes Sedai are obviously aghast at this, but she eventually runs away from the tower and she joins the rebel Aes Sedai as a servant, sort of giving up on being Aes Sedai. And when I forget now who it is, I read this but I didn't write it down. Someone comes to the rebel camp and they identify her, and the rebel Aes Sedai interrogate her about her time in the tower and how she escaped, and she divulges her escape route was via a small sewage grate that she could get through, that she only knew about because she was a Yellow Sister put in charge of looking after the beggars, and she knew from dealing with these guys down in the slums and in the sewers, she knew there's a way out of the city, and that's how she escaped.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Did she crawl through a river of shit and come out clean on the other side?
Yes, just like old Andy. Javindra is later sent to the Black Tower and is eventually she's eventually turned to the Shadow by
against her will.
Dame, against her will.
Oh, I remember that shit. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. And then Undaya. She's a grey, I think, and she doesn't actually trust Elaida fully and is keeping an eye on Elaida on the behest of her head of the Grey Arger, who asked her to keep an eye on Elaida. She's obviously a strong negotiator. I think that's what the Greys do. And she is the one that eventually officially asks Egwene to become the Amyrlin seat again in the tower after Elaida is taken away by the Seanchan. And later she supports Egwene's elevated powers during a time of war, saying, no, Egwene should be dealing this, and actually argues for Egwene being the only person to deal with any of the monarchy of the other countries, which at that time includes Rand, who is at that time the king of Ilion. So she's basically arguing the only Aes Sedai that should have anything to do with the Dragon Reborn is Egwene. So she becomes, what we as readers would term an ally. Which is like...
Cool. Thanks, Moritz.
A significant number of these women who have, in our minds right now would be like reprehensible for what they did to Swan, actually redeem themselves in various different ways. That's all I had on the Aes Sedai, but I had one more thing. I don't think he ever, maybe I forgot to highlight her name. Call back for you, Willie.
No.
Evangeline Lilly. When Elaida's looking around the study and like what it's made of and stuff, there's a glittering stone that is used on the archway out to the balcony or something like that is not found anywhere else in the world, but they say is salvaged from a nameless city swallowed by the sea of storms during the breaking. Which reminded me of that vision that Rand has of one of the Aiel who is looking at where the city of Comel used to be.
Yes, it used to be on the coast.
The Sea of Storms.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that's the same city. Who knows?
It is now. Canon.
Yes.
Moritz has canonized it.
Like so many other things. What else? Oh. Elaida thinks to herself that on occasion, it seems like Alviarin knows too much about Fane. Alviarin seems to like almost recognize him. Would it be, I mean, I know that Fane, I say I know, was Fane an instrument of Ishamael? Or do we know which Forsaken was sort of in charge of him?
I don't think Fane was. Yeah, I don't think Fane was any one of the Forsaken's stool.
He's a Dark Friend.
Yeah, Dark Friend.
But he wasn't operating by himself.
No. He was under full control of Madral and the Dark One. Like, he came from a different lineage. Like, the Forsaken never had control of him. I don't even think they know of him.
Oh, those are some strong words there, Willie.
Yeah, it's hinted here quite strongly that Alviarin actually does know about him, which I thought was interesting.
But he could just be like a legend among Dark Friends, you know? This guy who had direct access to the Dark One.
Legendary.
Now has his own agent.
I think the last point I had here was just that I was stoked that Rhuidean is already like put out by the fact that he's having to deal with one such person who resists compulsion. You know, like how he says some people just actively fight it the whole time. I think Lanfear makes a comment about like, should you be using compulsion on this Aes Sedai? And then he's thinking about like, you know, only some people actually have the sort of mental fortitude to actually resist compulsion to some degree. And unfortunately, he still has to deal with one such a person, and that's Morghese, as we see in the chapters coming. But he mentions it here already, so it's already like sticking in his craw, which is great for us.
Nice. That reminds me that it's not some unnamed Aes Sedai in Cambridge.
No.
That's Elaida's replacement. Now that she's left,
Yes.
she does have a name. What is Morris? Did you remember to highlight her name?
I did not, but I think
her name is not mentioned at this
chapter.
point in time. Yeah,
I'm sure at some point I've read about it. Like in that meeting with all the Aes Sedai, doesn't Elaida mention her? Like, oh, we've got what's her face.
Well, they talk about another Aes Sedai to be sent to Saldea to counsel Tenobia and Davram Bashir. I think that I also have the same feeling, Joe, that someone has mentioned who replaced Elaida. Maybe if it wasn't here, maybe it was in a previous book.
Yeah, but she obviously doesn't hold as much sway as Elaida used to, and she's doing a shit job.
Yes,
she's useless.
Bossed around as a pawn and feeding back to the tower bullshit information that Rhuidean's like, I want the Aes Sedai to think this. There you go. Off you go. Tell them this. Yeah. With another Dark Friend in the room who is not compelled, who's just a straight up Dark Friend, Lord Elagar or something.
Yeah.
Who I also read up about, doesn't really do anything, just fawns over Rand when Rand comes and takes over town. Okay. Anything else for just the prologue?
No, nothing good done with the prologue.
You squeezed way more lemon juice out of that than I did.
That's my job. Okay, then. Chapter 1, Fanning the Sparks. Take it away, Joseph.
Well, we begin the usual way, you know, the turning of the wheel. There were no beginnings, but there was a beginning. You know the spiel by now. We're in the beginning of the book. And we start in a small town called Core Springs, with a K, that is. Summer is in full swing here. Everybody is sweating their tits off. As previously, where these books started, everything was cold, you know, how winter was lingering and it wouldn't go, but now summer has arrived with a vengeance. And we hook up with old Min and Swan and Leanne. It has now been several weeks. What is the time frame between the end of the last book and this book? Because I'm figuring 3 or 4 weeks, maybe. Maybe not so much, but...
Yeah, Joe, thanks for the callback. I'll take that one on.
Some time has passed. All right. So anyway, they've been captured. They are being held in a shed awaiting judgment because they burnt down some farmer's barn. During this whole debacle and commotion, Loghain had escaped because remember they were traveling with old Loghain. He's on the lam, and now they're waiting for judgment by some local lord of the place that they're in. So they are being held in like a small shed, as I said, and it's stifling hot inside. Like if it's 50 degrees outside or 40, I'm talking Celsius here to our North American listeners, then inside it's even hotter. But the Aes Sedai don't seem to notice at all. They've still got that, because I remember we know in the books now that this ability to to resist the heat is not a thing of the one power. It's a mind trick
No.
that they teach the Aes Sedai. So they've still got this. So yeah, we know that they've been traveling for some weeks under some false names, which I didn't write down. They have false names. They're not traveling under these names. So yeah, this Aes Sedai trick, they're not sweating, but Min is feeling it, obviously. So they've been traveling for weeks under false names, and while they're waiting in the shed, awaiting judgment, Leanne has been making adjustments to her dress, and she's been putting on makeup that they got from Loris. Because I was like, when I read that, putting on makeup, I was like, where the fuck did they get makeup? And then there's one little line like, oh, that Loris pushed on them just before they fled the tower. Like, yeah, take some makeup with you. You're going to need it. And yeah, they did need it. Good job, Loris. Because now Leanne has decided to use her old Damani skills that her mother taught her and her aunts and all of that stuff. You know, the sexy lady skills that they have to charm her way out of this or any other situation. Now that she's not Aes Sedai anymore, now both her and Swan are trying to fill that hole that's been left after being stilled. Like Swan has her mission of vengeance, and she wants to complete her mission as well of you know, helping the Dragon Reborn save the world. She's still on that, but Swan doesn't have enough. I mean, Leanne, sorry. So she is going to fill that gap, going back to her roots. So just then, when she's finished and she's got her makeup on, the chains rattle on the door, and they are opened up and escorted to see the local magistrate by the name of Lord Gareth. And I was like, dude, Gareth, there you are, buddy. That's what happened to you. So old Gareth, he has been kicked out of Camelin, obviously, because he was not a huge fan of Gabriel, of Rhuidean, as to be expected. Nothing, like, he does not get played easily, this man. And anyway, he's been kicked out, and his estates are here in this town or around this town of Core Springs. So his family estate. So he's just gone back there. So the courtroom that they're going to be tried in is actually the local inn, aptly named the Queen's Good Justice. And it is packed with all the villagers come to see the spectacle, because this has been like the most exciting thing that's happened in this town for ages.
Yeah,
some farmers' barn burned down. They captured some women.
All 22 of them.
yeah.
So they are the three are charged. I got a list of their offenses. They're being charged with trespassing, arson, destruction of a building and its contents, killing of livestock, assaults, and theft. I was like, holy shit, what did you guys get up to? So yeah, apparently they just tried to spend the night in a barn, and all hell broke loose when they got discovered. Logain, I must note, is responsible for the last two, the assault and theft charges, not them. All right. So their accuser, some farmer, I didn't write down his name either. You know, he presents his case. He gives his account of what happened. It's pretty straightforward, albeit a little bit embellished. He likes to embellish the part where he fought Logain and got a bump on his head. Apparently, it was a pretty even fight.
Nem. Adnam Nem or something.
Adnam Nem. Yes. So Adnam Nem.
Sounds like the Core Springs version of a Copland or a Congo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I pictured him as well. So he's not, well liked between many people, but anyway, there he is. But yeah, he embellishes the story a bit, but pretty much it's exactly what happened. And then, this entire time, Swan is looking down, because the second she walked in, of course, being the ambulance, she recognizes Gareth. And she doesn't want him to recognize her, even though she has a different face. She's not taking any chances, so she doesn't speak, because she's afraid that he'll recognize her voice. So she's just shutting up and looking down. So instead of her speaking in the defense of the three, Leanne speaks up. And she tells the story of three helpless women. What?
Speaks up. She flirts up.
Oh, yes. No, she's putting her old skills now, her old Damani skills to the test. She's a bit rusty. And later on, Gareth actually mentions that. He thinks on it. He ponders and that woman, that Damani, she's not as good. Sometimes she was rushing it, and sometimes she said the wrong thing, but looked like she was out of practice. And yeah, she was out of practice.
But she was at times effective.
Yeah, no, she does.
He admits to it. He's like, oh.
Yeah. So look, she's not that. She learnt well. She remembers her studies. And she tells the story of 3 helpless women who are roaming the countryside. And there's a line here like refugees from the storms sweeping the world. She really lays it on thick, and that they say that they met Loghain, some stranger on the road, and he offered his protection. And of course, they were, afraid and alone, so they accepted him. They didn't know what kind of person he was. They were just looking for a place to sleep that night in the barn, and it was an accident that it burned down. It was Loghain who assaulted the farmer and then stole the silver. They didn't even know silver was stolen, but apparently it was. So during this whole explanation, like Willie said, Leanne is really using her skills, her Damani skills, laying it on thick. But Gareth is not easily played. He notices it. He is affected. He is a man. He's a hot-blooded man, so it is working on him. But he notices what she's doing immediately, and he's not going to change any of his decisions or his pronouncements. So anyway, he comes to a decision, and he decides that he is going to compensate old Nem. Is it Nem? Yeah, whatever. Gareth even says that, like, look, that knock on your head, you get worse from your wife for drinking too much. So
exactly,
that'll be fine. I'm not going to hang these women because apparently when the locals found them, they were ready to hang them. There were ropes hanging off branches of trees and everything before they were rescued and actually brought to trial. So he's like, look, no one's getting hanged today. Let's just chill out. And he decides, look, I'll compensate you for everything that you've lost, for the farm, like 20 cows that burnt to death and all kinds of cuck. So lots of money. But apparently he's rich.
But some of them were going dry already, so that's important to be said.
His milk cows were losing it. So like, we know, because there's a woman that runs his estates, Gareth's estates. I didn't write her name down either. I'm the complete opposite of Moritz.
Let's call her Janine.
Janine. No, that's going to cause confusion. So anyway, she's been running the estates, and she's basically running this whole show anyway. This whole court case, whatever it is. So anyway, she's going to go find out about the dry cows and all of that crap, and pay and find out exactly how much money is required. And then in response to that, Gareth says, like, all right, so that I'm going to pay off all your debt for you, but what you guys have to do is work for me to pay it all back. Like, you 3 women are not going anywhere. You're staying right here, and you're going to work your asses off either in the fields or in the manor house for as long as it takes to pay me back all of this money, which is a pretty fair deal. I mean, he doesn't know who they are and what their mission is, so it's like, all right. And, you're going to work in the manor house is going to earn you more. It's not going to be as well as backbreaking as working in the fields. But you've got to promise me that you're not going to run away. You've got to make some oath, because if I can put you in the fields, someone's going to be there watching you day and night. So that's fine. But if you're working in the house, you're not going to have like somebody guarding you all the time. So you've got to swear an oath to me that you're not going to run away. So Leanne and Min are both at the same time frantically thinking of the weakest oath that they can ever come up with. But before they could say anything, Swan kneels down before Gareth, puts her hands on her heart, and I will recite her oath to him. By the light and my hope of salvation and rebirth, I swear to serve you in whatever way you require for as long as you require, or may the Creator's face turn from me forever and darkness consume my soul. And Min's like, fuck's sake, Swan. It's the oath of oaths. This is one you cannot break. And Min is just, oh shit, because she just wants to get back to Rand. She's got a mission. She needs to get out of here. She can't. And what is she going to say now after Swan's got this oath? She's like, yeah, I promise too. She's got to have to say the same thing. So Lord Gareth is, of course, surprised by the strength of this oath. But yeah, he accepts it. And the other 2 also kneel down and they start reciting the same oath because, there's a precedent set now. So they have to do it as well. So after this oath and whatnot, they clear the common room and Gareth has a chat with the 3 ladies. He guesses all 3 of their countries of origin just by their accents. And of course, the Damani woman is easy to spot. Easier than the rest. But like Min as well, he's like, yeah, you're from, West Camelin area, and she's like, oh yeah, exactly. She's from Berylon. She actually says it and then, shit, because a lot of people might know this Min person. West Andor, sorry. What did I say?
West Camelin.
Yeah, it's still West Camelin. Just very far West Camelin.
Yeah, not really. Like West Camelin would be like the outer suburbs of Cayman.
Exactly.
You're not going to get away with this with pedantry.
No, sorry, my mistake. I'll be more careful in the future. So he organizes them transport back to his manor. Of course, they decide, look, we'll work in the manor. This field crap is not for us. So he organizes them some transport back to his manor, and he leaves to continue with his business. You know, he's the local lord. He's got other shit to do. In the back of this wagon, taking them to the manor, Min finally freaks out. She's just like, what the fuck did you get us into? This is ridiculous. I need to go. I can't be here. Stuck for years trying to pay off this debt. Leanne, on the other hand, she's feeling more alive than ever. She loved her little spiel that she put on there. Like, her heart is racing. She's like, yeah, I still got it, man. Like, at one point when she knelt down to him and she put her fingers on his wrist all tenderly, she was feeling his pulse and she could feel it racing. And she was like, yeah, it's working. I still got it, you know? So she's loving it all. And Swan doesn't seem to give a shit at all. She is chilled as fuck. Not at all bothered. And they reveal to Min here that they were going to break this oath almost instantaneously, right? Like in the beginning.
Well, not break it.
Not
yes,
break
I'm
it.
getting there. I'm getting
Bend
there.
it.
I'm getting there. Bend it. I'm getting there. Let me explain. So they were going to leave. We're like, within 2 or 3 days, they said, look, we're gonna wait around 2 or 3 days to make sure that no one really is watching us, and then we're gonna hit the road. And then later, once we've done everything that we wanted to do, save the world and all of that shit, we'll come back and fill out our penance. And she's like, oh, all right. Apparently, Swan used some Aes Sedai wordplay in the oath to avoid mentioning any timeline on purpose. It's like, fuck's sake, she's still got that.
What
Aes
they really
Sedai.
mean is that they're going to go make some money so that they can come back and just pay off their debts, as opposed to work off their debts.
Whatever, they're coming back.
And
though,
the small
yeah.
matter of like saving the world.
Yes.
Little, they got some more important things to worry about, all right? Min is pretty shocked about this as well. She's like, all right, obviously when Swan Leanne knelt down and kept saying it as well. She obviously realized instantaneously these two women have been working together for decades. They know each other. But Min was left completely out in the cold. But anyway, Swan knew that this is the only way that they can end this quickly is by saying this oath, that Gareth would accept it immediately, and they could be on their way to the manor, which they are. The plan worked perfectly. So suddenly, while they're on their way to the manor, the wagon lurches, the horses start galloping, they're freaking out, like, what's happening? They look out at the driver, and there is no driver. This chariot is on its way. I'm always calling things chariots. And the driver is gone. So Leanne jumps out, she takes over the horses, and they bring it to a stop, and they look back, and there's the driver, 60 paces back, lying in the dirt with a massive head wound. So immediately, like, they get down, they check him out first to see if he's okay. He's still alive. And Leanne notices that, like, look, he didn't get that head wound from falling off. He didn't hit it on the ground. And out of the woods comes our old buddy Logain. And he used the sling. I wonder if this is a callback. And knocked this guy out of and has come to save them. And he's got their horses. Bella, she's back, baby. Bella's okay, everyone. Everyone, you can relax. Bella's okay. He's got himself a nice new silk coat, and he's carrying a sword. I don't know where he got the sword from, but I think he got the new coat from some recently acquired silver.
No. So the sword and both the silk coat and or velvet coat or whatever he's wearing is during their travels from in the left Avalon to where they are now. He was quite lucky on the dice as well. So he ended up dicing quite a bit and blowing his winnings on himself to look all suave.
Yeah. Well, the sword I know he had for a while because he said, look, the only thing that's been keeping people away from us is this, and he taps on it, So I got the impression that he's had the sword a while. But they do make mention of a very nice new blue silk coat that he has. I think he may have purchased recently, but that's neither here nor there.
He did steal some money, so
he did. There was some silver missing, and it was him, confirmed. For an instant, Min sees a halo around his head, just for an instant. That glory to come, and she thinks, oh, shit, that's weird. But it just flickers, and it's gone again. He suggests that they ride on before someone discovers them. He also seems concerned about the man that he knocked unconscious. And this is one of Gareth's old army buddies that have come to spend their retirement with him. But he says, like, yeah, some kids will find him. Like, there's some kids coming down the road right now. They'll take care of him and everything. And that's, cool to see that he's not some heartless rogue. And
Bastard.
the Aes Sedai, the ex-Aes Sedai at least, they notice this as well. Like, oh, he's not such a bad dude. He's also more assertive. Logain, that is. He starts taking charge. He starts planning their next 2 days. He tells them they should start moving. So he's getting his confidence back now. He's on a mission. They promised him revenge, and he is going to see it out. So he says, no, I'm staying with you guys until I get my revenge. Because he was quite shocked. Like, did you think I was going to abandon you? Because they already made their own escape plans and everything without him. But he was like, no, I was just waiting for you. And you actually, you're out of that town faster than I was expecting. But yeah, I'm here to get you and hit the road again. Which is exactly what they do. And there's one last thought that Swan has I don't know if it was a Swan. Like, they're pretty convinced that they are not important enough for Gareth to mount a whole thing and go after and follow them. They're not that important.
2 hours later.
2 hours later. No, it's the next day. Gareth is getting ready to follow them with 20 mounted men armed to the teeth. All of his old ex-army buddies are with him, and they are just chomping at the bit to get out there and do something. They're all ready. They're packed. They got spears and swords and axes, and they got their camping gear packed. They're like, let's go, let's do something. And he's already got a crush on Swan. All he can think about is like he knows he should be more attracted to that Damani woman. Her skills, this is where he thinks about her rusty skills, but still she was pretty effective. But that other woman that was so defiant, he's just got a thing for her already.
Do they not hook up or something?
Yeah, they do hook up.
They do, yeah.
So this is already where it started. He's already got eyes on her. Yeah. So before they can ride out, another man comes riding in, some other old army buddy. He's got news from New Brame. Or Bream. No, I think it's pronounced Brame. Some other town that he was visiting his sister in or something. He's like, dude, there's some news for you from the world. Apparently, Tyr has fallen, the stone of Tyr. The Aiel have taken the stone, and the sword that cannot be touched has flat been touched. I like that line as well. And
Avienda.
Yes, Adrian.
Adrian wrote in to say that was a standout line for it.
Yeah, he's like, the sword that cannot be touched has flat been touched, and Gareth thinks, what? Touched by an Aielman? Touching a sword? Like, no. It's like, no, you're getting your lines crossed, buddy. Someone else touched it.
But actually, yes.
But not the Aielman as you're thinking. He also has news from Tar Valon. Whoever this dude is, there's a lot of news going through.
You got all the news.
All the news in the world.
Goss.
Yeah, so there's news from Tar Valon. Elaida is the new Amberlin. Swan was stilled and executed. Wrong. Right? Wrong. Logain died too. Wrong. And I like how Gareth's brain immediately goes into general mode. He's like, oh, right. So there's upheaval in the tower. What are these Aes Sedai plots? And he starts thinking about this, like how they've got their fingers in all the governments. Will Rand move against Ilian? Like, the guy doesn't know who took the stone. Who took Kalandor? Ren or someone. He can't remember his name. Close enough. It's Rand, but immediately he's like, will Rand move against Ilian? Will he move against Kyrian? How quickly? And then he realizes, like, oh, dude, it's not my fight anymore. I'm not involved. But it's hard after all of these years to not just go straight to those thoughts. So he's decided, well, stuff it. I'm going after Swan. I'm going to go find these women and find out why they would break that.
He's going after Mara.
Oath. Mara, is that her name? Yeah, we all know it's Swan. I'm not even going with those names. All right. So that's the end of his point of view. I don't know if anybody wants to chirp in here with something.
He doesn't like his hat. He's got a very fashionable hat. Not a helmet.
With a folded brim.
I'm trying to picture this. Like, I can't really... Hats. It's like... Is it like a Joker flappy hat? Like...
No, I imagined something more like one of the Three Musketeers, like a wide brim, like pinned up on the one side.
Like it flops, like falls flat.
Is he wearing a beret?
No. Like, I thought like beret, like you fold, but this thing is like made of what did he like silk or something?
Yeah,
flannel.
Sounds foppish,
but it doesn't sound very soldiery. He'd much rather have his armor.
Yes, he does mention that as well. And also the guy that's come with the messages, he sees everybody mounted. He's like, hey, can I come too?
Hey, you're going somewhere?
You going somewhere without me? What's happening, man? I'm going to go home and change and get my shit. And he's like, and Gareth's like, sure. We'll be on the road heading, west or south or what direction they're going in. I don't know. We'll be on that road. You can find us.
They all starved for action, eh?
Like just chomping at the bit. They need to get out.
There's a great line here where Gareth is thinking about his tracker, Thad, who he says, Thad was over 70, but he could still track yesterday's wind across stone by moonlight.
Yes. Yes.
That's a tracker.
That's awesome. Love
That was a really great line, that.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yesterday's wind over stone by
By
moonlight.
moonlight. It's awesome.
Very cool.
That's all from me, Joe. I also did just note that Leanne seems to be quite sad still about being still. Like she catches herself. Oh, I promised myself I wouldn't cry about this again, but she's getting like all emotional.
Yeah.
about being
Look, she's not
stilled.
going to get over it anytime soon until she gets healed.
No.
But until then,
Well, to be fair, like the three of them, and when I say the three of them, is Swan, Leanne, and Logain, being stilled and gentled, all appear to be in much better spirits. Like
yeah, because they've got
planning,
something.
moving.
to
They got
replace
purpose.
They got purpose.
That's it.
Exactly.
Like, purpose is there, and they're going for it. And I liked I really enjoyed Leanne getting in touch with her grassroots Damani nature. Like I had my aunties and my mom teach me the shit from childbirth, and I had to forget it when I went to the tower. But hey, man, I've got the skill, and stuff you ladies, you don't have the skill. I'm using my
And she's
skills.
only a little bit rusty, eh? Only a little bit.
A little bit rusty. But she's tightened the hems around her dress, and all of a sudden her hips look
adjusting her dress
and her
to make
bosom
her
is
bosom more pronounced. Yeah.
Everything is out there, and puts out the makeup like a champ. Like she knows what.
I was
does the
that
things.
makeup line was a bit much. Like, but then that seems exactly like something Laris would
I
do,
hey,
especially
man.
for men.
Yeah, it was probably intended for men.
Yeah.
Right, Joe, proceed.
So we join up now with the High Lady Altama. I'm pronouncing it. It's an EI.
Yes. Altima.
Yeah, she's not Altama. She's not beloved by anybody ever. She's arrived in Andor. And she's ready for some Dies Day Marsh. She is planning. So she's fled Tyr. What was her husband's name again? The guy she poisoned?
Oh, gosh.
Lord.
Unimportant.
High Lord.
Um,
Something with a T.
turmeric.
Turmeric. High Lord Turmeric, as he is now named forever and henceforth.
Tadosian.
All right?
The
Tadosian.
Dosian, that's right. And they had a
That's
love
right,
triangle. And
Yes. Apparently, because Rand left her there, saying like, you got to look after your husband, make sure he recovers. And she, as soon as Rand left, she was like, "Fuck that noise, I'm out of here."
Doesn't Rand tell her to go with the humanitarian mission into Kyrian?
that's right.
And he leaves Lord Turmeric with her biggest rival.
To heal.
All right. She has fled Tyr. She's come to Andor. She's going to establish herself here. She's looking for some old man that's about to die, some old lord that she can marry and, inherit some estates. I mean, she is just ruthless. She's only thinking about herself. And she needs Morghase's help to do so. She's here to see Morghase. In fact, this whole part is her just sitting outside the court in Camelin, the palace, waiting to be let in. And she's just thinking to herself a lot of like internal monologues here about what her plans are and how she's met Morghase once before. She knows her, so she's going to, she'll let her in. So anyway, she's asked for audience to see the queen, and old Talonvor comes out. He's still there. Loyal to a fault, that good man. He comes out to escort her to the queen. Her invite has been accepted. So she can come and have a chat with old buddy Morghase. They walk through the halls, and eventually they get to see Morghase in the room. And her first note is that Morghase is dressed in a very revealing dress of white silk, confirming the rumors that she has heard that she has taken a lover. Like she would, because she remembers she's even dressed modestly herself, knowing and remembering that Morghese is a very modest woman, but when she sees her, it's like, holy shit, you know, dipping necklines and everything. So obviously this queen
overdressed
has
for
a
the
man in her
occasion.
life. Yeah. She's messed that one up a bit, but doesn't really matter because Morghese is not paying that much attention. So Altima is aware as well of the rift between Andor and the White Tower, but also notices that Morghese is still wearing her serpent ring. I don't know if this is important, but I wrote it down. Altima confirms that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, and Morghese remembers meeting him. She's like, yeah, I met that guy. I know him. He was in this very hall last year sometime, I suppose. That he didn't seem that dangerous, but Elaida noticed something in him. But anyway, there he is. He's the Lord Dragon now. Altima also tells her how dangerous Rand is. Like she's trying to really get her on his side against Rand, saying that, yeah, he's changed all the laws. Now all the High Lords are subject to the same laws as the peasants. This is ridiculous. We could be hanged, and well, lords literally have been hanged. All this kind of stuff. And now that the Aiel as well, it's true that the Aiel took the stone and they follow him and they have left Tyr, which comes as a shock to Morghese. She does seem to be taken aback by that a lot. Now, it seems that Morghese is also trying to get information out of her. They are both playing the game of houses, but I don't know how befuddled Morghese is with all these months of compulsion on her brain, whether this is left by Lord Gabriel, like, you know, if you meet some other noble, get information from them, or if it's just her own designs on getting information. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. So just then, old Lord Gabriel himself, Rhuidean, enters the room, and like he dismisses the servants instantaneously, like he owns the place, and immediately, this is what we were talking about, really, like immediately starts compelling Altima. Like he doesn't even introduce himself. He's just like, hey, who are you? You got a buddy here? Start speaking, woman. You know, dish out the dirt. So he sends Morghese as well.
Dismisses
Morghese as well, like a child. Yeah, you're sleepy. Get out of here. And she's like, oh, okay, fine. And this is also like the compulsion kicking in because Altima is just like, oh my God, this man is so handsome. He's so amazing. And this is like falling in love with him. And he asks her, you know, what are you doing in Andor? And she spills the beans about everything, about poisoning her husband, how she's here to find another husband and get lands and blah, 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 like everything. Like, so all confirmed in this little chapter here. And then he commands her to tell him everything she knows about this Rand al'Thor. And that's basically where we leave that. We leave them and her spilling the beans on that. And we go back quickly to Morghese, who is coming to her bedroom. In the middle of the day, the servants are quite shocked that she's there. They run out. She lies on the bed. She thinks of Gareth for some reason. That also he did boss her around, but not as much as this new guy does. And she's thinking to herself, like she's already, fighting the compulsion. Did she tell Gabriel that she was going to sleep, or did he tell her? Like she's already trying to break free, but she falls asleep before that she can break out of this Jedi mind trick of his. And that's how the chapter ends. Her fighting her compulsion.
So a very big line up there between, in the same chapter, having Morghese and Gareth Bryne in sort of the same sort of chapter, bringing them in. And he's obviously, you wonder why he's all of a sudden, why he's not the Queen's Guard captain. Like, all of a sudden, like, yes, you would be a lord. So he's been kicked out. She had to like fire him or honorably dismiss him. Banished, not banished. He's still lords and he's still got his lands and all of that. But
I don't know what the terminology would be. She fired him, basically. Yeah, he's been laid off and sent back to his estates. Yeah, because she remembers now she's doing it, but she can't remember why. Like she remembers they argued about something, but all compulsion.
Compulsion.
I've forgotten how much I hate those Terran nobles, eh? Just the worst. Treats that mage like absolute shit. Revels in the idea of having a Kyrenian noble that's fallen on hard times as a maidservant. Like, what a fun little thing that would be. Just Altima is the worst. I mean, Adrian wrote in about that as well. Like, just hating on Altima. And I get it. She is the worst.
This is a nice story chapter. Like, things happen. Things flow. Not things stationary in someone's head in thinking.
So you must be champing at the bit to get to the next chapter.
Again, a lot of thinking bits there. It's I like that chapter a lot. I really did. And it's also characters that we haven't had for a very, very long time.
And it's nice, like street level action, like, tied up in a shed in the back of a wagon, like a sling attack, riding off, on another adventure.
Okay, look, I'm not going to get excited being back of an apple cart, so curb your enthusiasm there.
Is that it? No comments?
Ultima was the only thing. I mean, we've touched on Gabriel and like how deplorable his use of compulsion is, and again, Morghese resisting it. Like few people can, and she has the wherewithal to fight it. But I mean, she's playing with what's the idiom I'm looking for? Like she's completely powerless against the force of the one power that Rhuidean is using on her. I mean, she's under the literal spell of a Forsaken.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved about that is just not remembering anything of these chapters and then reading that it's Lord Gareth. And I'm like, this must be like just getting a little bit of like, oh yeah, this is going to be good justice. He's going to be just. He's a good, honorable man. He's a great man. Like, and even though you murdered cows and burned down a shed, you'll be all right.
Admir Nem dropped his own lantern in the barn. They didn't set anything
fair,
on fire.
Logan knocked him in the head, but it's
He did.
And then
Logan's done much worse.
Money pouch.
Yes.
So yes, by the definition of the law of Andor, they were culpable for the slaughter of property and milking cows, even though they ran dry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worst was that they could have been flogged in the street or something. That was like according to Andor law.
That's what they were hoping for.
I was hoping for a good flogging. Yeah, Jesus. All right.
Should we roll on?
Yes.
Roll on.
Chapter 2. Oh, it sounds like such a low number when I say it. Chapter 2 is called Rhuidean. Now there's a word that carries some weight with it. Willie, why don't you take us through that chapter?
Well, when I read Rhuidean, I thought like we've been here before. I honestly like just rewind a couple of chapters. We were in Rhuidean, and I was really, really surprised that we're back there. Thinking like, is Rand in a dream back in Rhuidean? But no, they packed up and moved to Rhuidean. They're here planting Zamai and tomats. They are carrying water. They've never seen so much water. They just like, this is the greatest city in the world. We've got water in the waste. Rand is standing in his palace without a window, not a window frame. I'm talking about no glass window, because I don't think the builders got that far, or it broke. I don't know.
It's been thousands of years.
But he's overseeing. Cadre is still there. Moraine is overseeing the packing of said door frame, twisted red door frame. You might remember that one from like some of the story bits that we read. And while they're trying to move it and it doesn't tilt over, a person falls into it. And that moment there reminded me of Jurassic Park, the first movie, when one guy gets sucked in by the velociraptor cage, when the velociraptor jumped in the cage, like right in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, that's
the cage moves from the enclosure and everyone's just like, shoot her! Shoot her! It was kind of that scene, like he's hanging on, like, help me! Body sucked in, no one can see the rest of it. Anyway, it was
what you find funny. This guy was in head first.
But yeah, he was butt first.
No, it was head first. His legs were sticking out.
Not in my mind.
Yes, because you're thinking about dinosaurs. And you got it all wrong.
Dinosaurs play a really big part in my life with Jamie and Jesse. It's like, Anyway, so Moraine has decided that all of these valuable ungreals, sangreals, and terangreals need to be boxed and shipped again. So they were driven for hundreds of years to eventually make it to that city, only for her to find
Thousands
it,
of
and
years.
just thousands of years, only for
We
her to
just
put it back
brought
into
them here.
boxes.
Now you're taking them back to the Iceland.
Back. And not with really a trustworthy person, with a dark friend, I might add.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway, we'll leave it at that. Rand, in the meantime, is actually in a meeting. He's looking at all of this, but he's sitting with 6 of the clan chiefs, Bale from the Goshin, Geron from the Sharad, Ruak from the Tardad, who we well know, and from the
Tamales.
Tamanel.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Bruan from the Nakai and Erim from the Chari. And they just basically discussing, starting off with our great friend from the Shido. I didn't write his name down because he disgusts me that much, and now I've actually forgotten his name. That's how much he really means to me. Kulidin. And what is Kulidin? No, that is Savannah.
I think it's all shadow dogs are the same.
And more Rand trying to figure out like what is Kulin gonna do. Turns out they've sent runners to try and invite Kulin to have a sit down talk, and the Shido actually skinning the runners alive. Like, this is like
dick move.
Big time dick move. They have also heard that in the warrior societies, obviously people would break from this and what is now officially called or labeled the
Brotherless?
No, when they just become so disillusioned by the reality of what happened to the Aiel, they there's a word for it.
The Great Reset.
Right. It's not the longing. It's the Aiel version.
The Aiel version of the longing. The bleakness.
That's it.
Yeah, so some of them would, and eventually like some of certain clans would go to the Shido, not to become part of the Shido, but to become part of their warrior society within the Shido. So the continuous reminder by all of them is that the Shido are dogs. They've got no honor, and you're not going to get much right out of them. There are still some seps. There's 12 clans. Some of them are still on the way, and Rand can bank on some of them to be there and to form part of this. But they have now taken their refuge, and their whole movement of those who follow the Karakan have now gone to Rhuidean. That's when Moraine and Egwene joins sort of the meeting, and these guys are basically dismissed to carry on. Now, the whole time in the background, harp music is playing, played by our very good friend Asmodean, just lying in the corner playing some harp as Jason Natail. And Moraine wants to speak to Rand alone and suggests that he should dismiss his gleeman. But Rand's like, look, whatever you speak to me, you can speak in front of my gleeman. He's in all the meetings. And Moraine and Egwene sort of pushing like, Rand, what is your plan? But Rand is in the beginning of the meeting already quite dismissive or very cocky towards Moraine, and one of the two like hits up and strikes him with one power. So he wants to, but the minute he turns around, he's embraced Saidin, like he's flowing, or Saidar, he's flowing with it, but he doesn't want to strike at the wrong person, and he had to calm himself down, but never letting go. But yeah, he doesn't want to commit to anything. Like he's still riding that patience, and what will be type of narrative, which is infuriating for Moraine. It's it's not really doing it for her.
Yeah, he's almost purposefully pushing her buttons.
Yeah, to the point where Egwene is saying to him, like, you've got the head, your head is swelling like a melon. Like you becoming a little bit too big for yourself. And he's like, well, I'm the Caracal. I'm the Dragon Reborn. Like, this is he's really playing his lordship up quite a bit at the moment.
This is important.
It is, yes.
He's got a big head because he is big.
There's 2 people in that head. That's why.
This is also the first time that we are introduced to the fact that there's 2 people in this head by action, by things happening. So the calling out of and the remembrance of Elaida. And he's like, well, Rand sort of pulls back, like, who's Elaida? Like, where's this from? Like, am I going mad already? But this is now the...
Yes.
Yes, you are, buddy.
quite clearly.
He conjures an image of her, like he can see her in his mind's eye.
Golden hair and what is it all? But yeah, it's starting. It really is starting now. They get sort of dismissed, and Egwene has a little go at him towards the end of the meeting. And that's where Asmodean channels and lets the goblet float through the air. He grabs it. They leave the room, and that's the end of the chapter.
Joe, did you have anything you want to discuss about that chapter? I've got a couple points here.
No.
Surprise.
I thought that there was more to those clan chiefs and what they were saying, but I didn't write it down. Like I'm thinking I should have paid more attention there, but I'm pretty sure Moritz did.
The gist of it is that they are talking about what Rand's chances are of securing all the clans. So Rand's big plan is like he wants all the clans united to go back into the wetlands. And there's a lot of, situational storytelling where they're sort of highlighting the blood feuds, but the two, it's Bale and one of the other chiefs who have a blood feud say the same thing at the same time. Like Robert Jordan is painting here the picture that, yes, they hate each other, but they're actually the same. And like their differences can be overcome and that sort of thing. And it's just Rand sort of rattling off like all these clans, can I get them to join me? And then like some of the chiefs vouching for some of the other chiefs that are not there yet, saying, don't worry, they'll be fine, they'll be in. And everyone establishing the Shido will absolutely not join and forget about it. The Shido are now our enemies, basically. And that's what that whole conversation with the chief sort of highlights. I like Bale. We read about Bale a lot. Bale becomes another Ruach type character for Rand later in the story. And Bale is the tallest man that Rand has ever seen. He's this giant clan chief, Aiel warrior. And I remember liking Bale a lot in the other books as well. Like he keeps appearing.
This is where we get the details about the clans, how many clans there are. There are 12, and he'll take, because he says to Moraine, like, what do you think will happen when I take 11 clans over the Dragon Wall? Like when for Laman's Sin, they sent only 4, and they had their way with the Westlands. Like,
yes,
can you imagine what happens when I bring 11?
And he's talking to Moraine about why he wants to use the Aiel, right? Like no one, like as soon as he turns his back in Tyr, people are plotting against him. It's so hard for him to like get people to just go, okay, cool. We are now with the dragon, and therefore no questions will be asked when, things sort of die down and he moves on to other areas. He explains that's why he left Kalandor in the stone, to remind the Terrans of his presence and that sort of thing. But he knows that he's going to have to come into the wetlands with a blunt force weapon and just hold it over everyone and go, fucking fall into line or you will be speared.
Yeah.
Speared or spared, your choice.
His plan is to subjugate them before he brings them onto his side. He's not just going to let them decide. He's going to come in, he's just going to dominate, he's going to invade their countries, take over and say, okay, you're now on my side. End of story.
He doesn't have time to fuck around, and that's his plan.
It's not a bad plan. It's very pragmatic. It's very heartless and cold, but it works. Spoilers. I've read to the end. It works.
I noticed that in the beginning of this chapter, he specifically says the dragons on his arms are not tattoos.
Yes.
It's a part of his skin. And I think one of our regular contributors, I'm going to apologize to, I think it was either Richard or Jason or Ian or someone wrote in at some point in the past saying that they actually hurt. Like in one of the chapters later in the book, like Rand or someone delves Rand and they sense his pain. Or it's when he bonds one of the girls or something like that. They sense his pain from his wound, from his tattoos, from everything. Like
the herrings in his hands still hurt him.
Yes, everything. Yeah. Poor bastard. Also, that a quarter of Rhuidean is destroyed. Fuck that city.
Also, Rhuidean is much bigger than I imagined. I'm reimagining the city now. Those buildings are like 10 stories high. They're skyscrapers. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I didn't get that my first read.
And then the towers are even taller.
It's a city.
Yeah, but it's more of a city as we think of a city now than a city like Camelin. And they're not even finished. They were going to go higher than what they are already. Yeah. Like they just end in jagged, peaks.
I love how when Rand is watching Moiraine order people around, like in the square, like packing up all the Ungrail and stuff, he thinks that she would have been as formidable as she is, even if she never went to the White Tower.
Yeah.
Like she's this diminutive, tiny Kyrenian noble, but she gains a foot in stature. Like he uses some phrasing like that. Whenever she enters a room, she actually comes across as bigger than she is just by her sheer presence. And he thinks that would have been the case whether she was Aes Sedai or not. Also, speaking of things being tall, the glass columns are like almost as tall as Avendosora, 100 feet tall. Yes. I never imagined them that tall.
That's another thing that I noticed on this read, yeah.
And the tree's alive, Willie.
Yeah, the tree's alive. Moiraine delved the tree, and she said, "No, it will shoot."
Yes,
it just had a little bit of burning, like a gum tree in Australia.
I wrote here, Avendosora lives. Sorry, Willie. Known tree hater, known Chora hater, Willie Erasmus. There was another cool phrase.
What?
Oh, sorry, Joe, you go.
No, just a mention of Shara over here, because they're talking about the Shido. They're only the Kyrenians are only good for being made into Gaishane or something, or for killing and for being sold as slaves to the Sharans. And they mention that like nobody, not even the Aiel know very much about the Sharans. So it's like, here's our first little, well, maybe first or one of the early signs of the Sharans.
A little tidbit, yeah.
Yes.
There's a cool little phrase in here about the Gaishane being a strange echo of the Way of the Leaf. And this Rand goes into a little explanation that actually goes some ways to helping me understand the impact of Rand's divulging of all that history of the Aiel to the Aiel. And he thinks about it like it's basically what they're hearing is that the Dashane Aiel had basically offered themselves as Gaishane. They were serving, they were servants and following the Way of the Leaf. They were Gaishane to the Aes Sedai in all aspects. They were subservient, they were peaceful, and they did everything. And then when the Aiel took up the spear and they took up arms and became the Aiel that they are today, that is to them, in their minds, the same as a Gaishane, breaking the Gaishane oath and picking up a spear and breaking and earning toe. So they, by learning this, they feel like, oh, fuck, we have all basically been Gaishane and taken up arms and broken our oath. So they all feel down about this awful truth. And this is why this truth is so awful to them. It's like they are all, they all have toe.
A nation of toe owers.
There's a little bit of touching of Gia toe in that, like honor and obligation, where I think it really starts off in this book quite a bit.
The more exposure we get, obviously, to the Aiel, the more prominent. It's the fulcrum of their entire way of being, right? Like everything revolves around Gieto. What else? I had a note about Couladin being way more barbaric than I remembered. Skinning messengers, that's just uncool, like even for someone that doesn't believe Rand is... Totally. Shido maidens have joined because they are joining their society, the maidens. The Shido maidens are not coming for Rand, they're coming for the maidens. But the maidens are all congregating around Rand because they carry his honor. So Shadow Maidens have...
I understood that it also worked both ways. Like deserters would join the Shadow under the Warrior Society.
But I'm wondering, did all the maidens leave the Shadow? Is that the impression I got?
No.
But I could have misread that. Like the Shadow don't have maidens anymore. Like that.
Can't remember. I'm sure they are
Warrior
still
Society.
No,
doesn't
they're still
exist.
there. It's like just that kind of like just people and their different thought patterns decided to follow. And if you can't follow what your clan is doing, it's acceptable for you to leave and join then your society within a different clan, but you identify then only in the aspect of society as opposed to identifying as clan.
The society bonds seem to be stronger than the clan bonds.
Yeah.
Because they also override blood feuds.
Everything
and
else.
They won't fight each other in battle. Like clans could be in like an actual battle, and the societies won't fight members of the same society in even regular battle. But now remember, I'm pretty sure, Joe, and I'm jumping into your chapter a little bit, but the maiden that hooks up with Matt
Melindra. Yeah.
is Shido.
She doesn't say. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that in the not too distant future, she tries to kill Matt.
Yeah. I have a line about that in my chapter as well.
You do? Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's just
we'll get there.
I remember that from the story, like Matt being betrayed by a maiden, and this is setting up to be this is the ghost of a memory that I have. Egwene's wearing a bracelet of ivory. It's flames, intertwined flames, which, ivory being white is very fitting for Egwene, the flame of Tarvalon, going to become Amelin Seat. I think it's in this chapter that, Jody, you were alluding to this before. Rand says, if this thing happens, I'd rather be buried at Can Breet.
Yes.
And Asmodean sort of like hits the wrong string or something. Like he has a visible, like a visible reaction to something that Rand has obviously mentioned from the Age of Legends.
Yeah.
I looked it up. You can't
Not
find
Rand,
anything about it.
Lewis Theron.
Still Rand. Still Rand.
Moritz is fighting this Lews Theron thing so hard.
There are instances in the story when Lews Theron does take over. Yeah. And it's different from this.
Yeah, we're talking about we're talking about influence, and we're talking about take over completely. Yes, those are two separate things. But his influence has been here the whole time.
I'm taking that with a pinch of salt.
He's just slowly emerging.
Look, that cannot be disputed, right? But I think what I'm guarding against is just saying things up. That was Lews. That was Lews Theron. That was Lews Theron.
Yeah.
Not him taking over or him acting. Yeah, no, we've had this discussion before.
We've had this discussion. And look, it's not all Wilder instinct and it's not all Lews Theron, but it is a bit of both.
Well, it's all blended together. And I mean, the whole concept of death and rebirth and like memory through the ages and all that sort of stuff is prevalent throughout the story. It's, in Buddhism, it's in everything. All the major themes of this book lend themselves to that.
I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because it's really the first time that it's hit me that Rand is not the savior that is reborn to save the world every time. He is specifically Lews Theron Telemon reborn, which is the first time that this has ever happened that anyone knows about. Because everybody is reborn, but you can be reborn as somebody else later on when you get kicked out again. And this is what happened with the dragon. But he's not the dragon specifically. He is Lews Theron specifically reborn. And that is something unique to the situation. And that's why he has the memories. And I just think it's really cool. Like I hadn't thought of that before. Like Lews Theron wasn't the previous dragon reborn. He was a new person, Lews Theron, who also happened to be the dragon. Called the dragon, yes. But Rand is specifically Lews.
Yes. Not just another dude who could
dragon.
save the world.
Yeah.
He is that same dude. Yeah. On that note, Rand finishes the chapter with, perhaps one day he'll find himself having conversations with people who are not there. Yeah. He will. Real soon, Rand. Don't worry about that.
Next chapter. Okay, maybe not that soon, but pretty close.
Okay, well, that's all I had to say, Joe. So we could go to the next chapter if you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Notes are open. Billy?
No, carry on.
All right, then let's go. Chapter 3 is called Pale Shadows. Take it away, Joe.
Right. So it was not Rand channeling that goblet floating over. It was Asmodean. And he does reach for the source now and snatches Asmodean up in weaves of air and threatens to murder him. And he's like, I've warned you 1,000 times not to channel in the presence of other people, no matter how little it is. And Asmodean is not afraid at all. He doesn't seem to be bothered in the slightest that he's wrapped up in weaves of air. And I think, as a part of this as well, he's also a Forsaken after all. He's not easily scared, even if he's the I don't know, the weakest of the Forsaken. He's still a Forsaken. And also, he has nothing to lose, kind of a thing. He's whatever, do whatever you want. I don't give a shit anymore.
He has conversed with the Dark One at Shire Ghul.
What are you going to do to me?
This is fine.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so he's just taking it all in his stride, and he's just saying like, look, no one would have noticed anyway that I was doing it. They would have thought it was you. And he's just like, Rand's like, I don't give a shit. I told you don't do it. You don't do it. I am the dragon. Shut up and listen to me. But Rand lets him go, though, of course, because it's not much of a fight. There's nothing Asmodean can do with the little bit of power that he does have, the ability to channel. So this is not a fair fight. He's just being a bully. Lanfear had inverted. We hear about inversion here as well. The shield weave that is stopping Asmodean from channeling too much. And that is why the other female channelers can't see it or can't sense it or anything like that, because she has inverted it. And I think this is our first. I'm always saying like, oh, this is the first time we hear about this or we see about this. And
it is.
I could be wrong. All right, sweet.
No, I think it is. I took the same note. Wow, between you and I, it doesn't mean much.
Because 2 people confirmed it. Billy, you confirming it as well? Let's make it 3.
Hey, don't ask me, man. I read that it's inverted. I'm like, okay, cool. It's got special magical powers. That's it.
Yeah,
magic. Got it.
Because I was thinking as well, like he's got that shield on, and there are 2 Aes Sedai. Well, Egwene, not full Aes Sedai, but and Moraine as well, and they don't notice anything. This is why. All right. So yeah, floating a goblet is all that he can do. So as this is the beginning of a new book, we've discussed this already. We get a lot of exposition again about how men can only teach other men and women can't teach men, like a dog trying to teach a fish.
Birds, got it.
Fish, birds,
yeah, that
bees,
whole like,
flowers,
whatever. Yeah. So a lot of that, like Villy's chapter as well, his prologue, and this as well. There's tons of it. So I'm just going to just slide all over that stuff. But anyway, the gist of it is he needs a man to teach him, which is why he chose Asmodean. So the thing I'm getting here is that Rand planned this whole thing. Because he says, I managed to fool Lanfear and capture Asmodean. Like he had a dual plan to trick Lanfear into giving him Asmodean. I don't know what the details of this plan were. Does anybody?
Maybe his plan was not so detailed. Maybe it was just Lanfear had already sort of hinted that she is going to help him indirectly. And maybe he thought Lanfear could bring him a Forsaken or a male channeler of some kind to help him in some way. Yeah. I don't know.
Because this is his plan. He wanted
loud.
Maybe not specifically Asmodean, but he wanted a male channeler, a male Forsaken to teach him how to channel. Because this is where he mentions being a wilder. He is also a wilder, like Nynaeve and like other female channelers. He has a 1 in 4 chance of dying if he doesn't get someone to teach him, of burning out and doing something stupid. And this is where it comes up in the book. So this is conversation he has now with Asmodean. Asks if he ever thought about coming back to the light. But Asmodean's like, no, that ship has sailed. If the other Forsaken find out, they'll kill me on the spot. And he'd wish that. He'd rather be in Semirog's hands than having to face the Dark One, which he keeps on calling the Great Lord. And Rand's like, no. Be careful your words now.
One.
Yeah, the Dark One. The Dark One will utterly destroy him.
Doesn't he say he'll much happier just cut his own wrists?
Yes,
like
when the time comes, he's just going to slice his wrists because he's not going to deal with any of these crazy fuckers.
That's also why he's not phased when Rand is like picking him up with air and stuff. His fate is sealed. He knows there is no clean way out of this for him. So it's just like, how does he mitigate the amount of pain he has to go through before he does?
And this is another thing that comes up in Rand's, like, so if you're so assigned to your fate, why don't you just take your own life right now? Like, nothing's stopping you from killing yourself. And he tells the story of a man he saw hanging on a cliff who, as he fell, grabbed for some grass that he knew would not support him, but he did it anyway. And I think the whole just what he's trying to say here is like, yeah, he knows it's lost, but he still has that little glimmer of hope that something might happen, that he could get out of this some way, somehow in the future. So he's not going to take his life just yet. He'll leave that wrist opening for later on. So like we've established, some time has passed. We don't know exactly how long. Several weeks, 2 to 3 to 4 have passed.
They would have traveled from Alcardal to Rhuidean on foot.
Yes, they did. So that must have taken 11 days the last time.
Took them 11 days from Rhuidean to Cold Rocks or Imre Stand.
Yes.
And then like on and then on, so it's like
4 weeks.
It's a bit of travel.
We're talking at least 2 weeks and maybe 3. I'm going to go 3 weeks. That's what I'm
maybe
suggesting.
even
more. 4 weeks.
Even more, but at least.
It's a lot of people.
Okay.
They were tired.
27
and
days.
they're on the back of traveling for like a month before that.
It's the Aiel.
What I'm trying to get at here is that Rand has had time to study with Asmodean. He's been learning. And Rand is like, listen, you haven't taught me anything specific, like any specific weaves or anything. He's not very happy with his progress. But Asmodean points out, like, look, since you've been with me, you can now grasp Saidin every single time you try. Because like previously, sometimes he would just be out of his reach. He couldn't grab it. Now he can every single time. He can tell one flow from another. He can shield himself. And the power now does what he wants it to. When he decides to do something, it does that. It's not complete wild madness. So I thought in that list that's some significant progress, baby steps. I mean, I think that Rand was expecting he's going to be learning all these crazy weaves like from day one. But, you got to learn to crawl before you can walk kind of a scenario, all right? So first be able to grasp Saidin every time you try is a good first step. So he's making steps. He's making progress. He tells Rand that, obviously Lanfear never intended for me to teach you everything. She wants Rand to live, but this time she wants to be the one in control. She wants to be stronger than him. So that's why she is happy to leave Asmodean there and, give him only a trickle of the power. So he can't teach him too much stuff that would make Rand too dangerous. And he is convinced that, he's also convinced that Rand and Lanfear planned this capture of him together. So he thinks that Rand may be in cahoots with Lanfear, and that's understandable because that's the MO for Forsaken, Of course, Rand...
He was in cahoots with Lanfear.
Yeah, it was you, dude, not me. But anyway, he feels as well threatened here at this time, and Rand can feel Asmodean pushing against the shield. He can feel a surge in the power, but also notes here that he can't see a glow around him like the women can see around him, and he doesn't get goosebumps, that kind of thing. But he is able in some degree to sense when a man is channeling. And we saw this as well between Ravin and Samael when they were meeting in Camelin. They could feel each other as well holding the power. So there's some, again, the differences between men and each other. They can feel the
amount of power. Yes,
that's right. They can't. Yeah, but there's no can't see the glow and anything up to that.
No.
So Rand asks Asmodean if they can link, why don't just you and I link? If you're not strong enough to show me these flows that I want to learn, these weaves, why don't we just link? And Asmodean obviously realizes, look, you know nothing. Obviously, men cannot link unless there is a woman involved. Even if it's just two men, you have to have. The third person has to be a woman. But women can do it quite easily. They can link however much they want, up to 13. We got some stats here to refresh ourselves. But after that, after a circle of 13, if they want to make it bigger, then they have to bring a man in. And he thinks that this is the pattern's way of balancing out the powers, as men are generally stronger channelers. They're not stronger in the power, so to say. I don't know, it's weird to explain, but generally speaking, there are more strong male channelers than there are strong female channelers. Is this what you guys got as well from reading this?
I got the sense that men were stronger in the power, generally speaking, which is the opposite of what you said. Not the opposite, but like it's the other understanding.
The other understanding. Yeah, like...
It's the balance to the equation.
Yeah, like men are generally stronger, but they can't link as easily. Like women are generally weaker in the power, but they can easily link and then be stronger than men. So there is like a counterbalance to that. All right. This is what I'm trying to figure out here to be clear.
You're delving into some really, really contentious topics there, Jody. So just
it's written in the book. It's not my opinions.
I don't think it's that contentious. I think it's like expounded on explicitly in the Wheel of Time Companion.
Yeah.
In one of our earliest episodes, I quoted some stats about like how many people can actually link and how many men have to be present in that, and what. There's also a lot of talk about like just because two people are linked, it doesn't mean their power is double.
Yeah, and this is brought up again here.
Scales, yeah.
Because he was explaining like while the 5 powers are equally strong, men are generally stronger channelers, but even if the 13 of the weakest female channelers in history link, they can kick Rand's ass. They can kick the Dragon Reborn's ass. Like you've got to be very, very careful of linked women. And for example, if Moraine and Egwene linked together, they could be pretty much like a match for Rand. And he remembers back to when they were when he was testing his strength out against Egwene. Was that in Tyr when he was doing his studying in that scene that they had in the bedroom? Yeah. Ooh, that scene in the bedroom.
And he melts that statuette into a fine cloth, like into threads, and weaves a cloth out of spun gold or something.
Exactly. And he says like he thought that maybe him and Egwene were on the same level, but Egwene equated it to being like a kitten in a darkhound's mouth or whatever, like just being thrown around. Like she was no match for him whatsoever, even though she was so strong, like one of the most powerful channelers the tower had seen in 1,000 years. So yeah, Rand is just on a whole nother level. Rand is again just, we were having a nice fat chat here, asking Asmodean about the Forsaken again. Apparently he's been doing this for several weeks now, but nothing new. Samael is an Ilian. Nobody knows where Moghedien is. We do. Ravin has a queen for one of his pets, but he doesn't know which queen. Of course, we do. So, like old news. Nothing new about the Forsaken that Rand knows. Rand actually asks Asmodean at this point, like, what do you think my chances of winning the last battle are? Like, the power levels of everyone involved. And Asmodean tells him, well, look, with that little statue that you found in the square, your chances are good. But Rand lies to him here and says, no, I destroyed those. And Asmodean actually slumps, like physically, like, well, then you've got a shit chance of winning, like slim to no without those things. So they talk about the taint as well. And Rand is already at this point in the story thinking of ways like, look, if we can't overcome it, maybe we can remove it. I was like, oh, there we go already. So we're in book 5, and I think it's the end of book 9, right? When they cleanse the taint.
Oh, I'm not even going to guess.
Because I think that's when we were staying in that shared flat in Port Elizabeth when we were studying. I was reading book 9 then, and I think that's when it happened. Okay. I have memories of that. And yeah, Asmodean thinks like, geez, dude, you're arrogant. And I was like, well, that's rich coming from a Forsaken that... Yeah. He thinks like, dude, you're talking about something that the Dark One did himself, the great Lord of the Dark, put that taint. There's no way you're going to remove it. Like, little do you know. So at this point, they finish their chat. There's probably other things I've glossed over, but Rand leaves with his maidens. He places some weave on the room. I don't know if Asmodean taught him that weave, much to his disadvantage, but anyway, it's a weave that no male channeler can walk through. Like anybody can come in and out of the room except Asmodean. So he's got him locked up in the bedroom, so he can't escape. And he leaves with his maidens, who glide up like serpents off the ground that have been squatting outside his room waiting for him. And this is where we find out about these people that have all been running away. One of the maidens is missing. Rand asks about her, and apparently she's gone to lay a bridal wreath at the feet of some guy Shane, if I remember that correctly.
One of her
own guy Shane.
Her own guy Shane. Oh, right.
I think so.
So yeah. Okay,
that's how I read it.
All right. So yeah, apparently this is becoming a regular occurrence now, especially amongst the maidens. They're giving up the spear now that they know the truth. They're just going to, give up the spear and get married. They're done with this. And yeah, between Aiel running away, throwing down their spears, joining the Shido, laying bridal wreaths, like shit is happening. And that's when he walks down and leaves the building with his honor guard.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're downstairs now. We join old Matt, who is on the sauce. Not SOUR, SAUCE. He is wasted on the usquai. He has been drinking and gambling all day, and now he's dancing around on a fountain, singing ancient songs from his new memories that nobody recognizes. Dance with Jacko the Shadows, which becomes quite a song. I think it's Band of the Red Hand that like really take that song under their belt. That becomes like their theme later on.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been singing that, but nobody seems to recognize the word. So he changes it to something else that everybody does recognize. I can't remember. Tinker in the Kitchen or something. You know that song? Billy, you know that song?
Yeah. I'm all
they're
over
upset
it.
about him singing about Jacko Shadows, which is
a bad
the dark
omen.
one.
Yes.
It's bad omen. Yeah. Don't do that.
It's bad juju. Don't. So yeah, he's been drinking and gambling with Hadna and Kadir's guys and with the other the other Aiel, and now nobody wants to gamble and drink with him anymore. His luck has been really, really strong, and now he's also starting to feel it before it happens. I don't think we haven't really got to the sound of dice rattling in his head yet, but he says he can feel when his luck is on. And he's quite wasted now, so he challenges an Aielman to a knife throwing contest. He said he can do it blindfolded, which he actually does. He takes off his little black scarf that he wears and puts it on his eyes, and this Aiel Corman throws a piece of wood into the air and just screams "now," and Matt just throws. He just goes on his pure luck, and he pegs that knife into that piece of wood first time.
In the middle of it.
In the middle of it. And it's a thin piece, and he didn't even tell him where he was throwing it. Like specifically in front of you or anywhere, Matt gets it regardless. Everyone is just silent.
I get the sense that they've been playing this game for a while without the blindfold. Like they've got a little pile of pieces of wood that they've been throwing. And this guy picked an especially small one as well.
Yeah.
And Matt nailed it dead center.
And you can hear the Hadnan Kadir's guys are like muttering under their breath, the Dark One's own luck.
Dark One's luck.
Mm-hmm.
Dark One's luck. They don't trust this guy. And this is where Matt, under his breath, mutters that Sene Sovia Cabadonde Indovenia, which is luck is a horse to ride like any other. And everybody's like, huh? What did you say? And he's like, shit, again.
Damn it.
With this, damn it. Got to really control this stuff. Now, really nobody wants to drink and gamble with him anymore. After that, so it's like, well, we're going to go call it a night. There's I didn't write it down. A line where one of the Aiel, he's like, when Matt says to him, like, you want to carry on gambling? And he says, like, yeah, maybe another time, something. It's like a way of the Aiels. Someday, which is an I will way of saying Matt, never.
Someday
never.
We'll do this again. And yeah, I wrote it down as one of my notes.
Yeah, like, this is never going to happen again. Never. I'm never gambling with you. Forget it. Yeah.
Sure, someday.
I'm done. They all start, filing off the Aiel. They're making their moves back to their homes. And he mentions now his memories have now completely integrated into his mind. He can no longer tell the difference between his own memories and the new memories. He says the seams between the lives are gone. There's no more seams in between. So his memories are like full on. He can remember his time in Eamon's Field, but he can also remember times when he was leading an attack on some nameless city that was destroyed 1,000 years ago, as all part of his own memories. So Matt is currently, this whole situation is taking place in the little plaza outside of Rand's building, in the plaza where Moraine had been packing those wagons as well. So there's an interesting line here that I took note of, and then where Matt thinks to himself that Moraine, and I quote, had taken particular care to see the red stone doorway lashed firmly in place just as she wanted. And I'm thinking it needs to be at the exact angle and at the exact spot on that wagon required for her and Lanfear to fall through it later, because she's already seen her death when she went through the other doorway. And so she knows that this is going to happen. I'm wondering if you guys are thinking the same.
I absolutely thought the same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I did not even contemplate that at all.
It's called out that she's specifically having the door set up in a specific way. Maybe not necessarily the exact angle that it's at or something like that, but that there's enough clearance for someone to move through it. And this actually got me thinking, Joe, that the Finns must have given her quite a lot of detail about exactly what was going to happen, not just, in their sort of vague, sort of poetic way of stating facts. But they must have told her, you and Lanfear will make your way through a red stone doorway or something along those lines.
Did they say where? In the back of a wagon?
I don't know about back of the wagon, but Moraine knows the hour that it's going to happen. When she writes the letters to Tom and those guys, she's writing them. As she's writing them, she's like, in this much time, I'm going to be going down to the docks or wherever it is, and this is going to happen. Or you will then not see me again, or something along those lines. But every time I read anything to do with this, I'm like, no, don't do it. Moraine, don't go. As much as I hate the way that she's trying to manipulate Rand, I still want her around because I still like her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got her own reasons for doing that, for doing those shit things.
Yeah, she does.
I like Lanfear to be around.
Yes, we know. So anyway, that's my thought, is that perhaps this is, she knows exactly, she knows she's going to fall through that later, so she wants it to be open, cleared, and like, I need to go there.
That's certainly
later,
the impression I got.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So this entire time that Matt has been fooling around, pretty much drunk, a maiden has been watching him, and she now approaches, now that everyone else is fucked off, to make her move. She likes his knife skills. She's very impressed. And she likes his eyes as well, amongst other things. And she introduces herself as Melindra of the Jumai Sept. And Matt notices that she does not introduce her clan. So he assumes that she is formerly of the Shido. He's well aware of what's going on with all the Aiel and leaving and changing and blah, blah, blah. And I have a line here, Moritz. This is the line I was referring to earlier. That's spaced very nicely. Don't trust her, Matt. All right? So she is Shido. Like, doesn't matter what you think. She's a Shido dog.
Did you remember why you shouldn't trust her when you wrote that line? Or
No, Shido.
just that she's Shido. Okay.
She's Shido. Don't trust her.
Good instincts.
I remembered her name.
Yeah.
When I read her name, immediately Melindra, I was like, this is like
Bad
evil.
Black Aja. Evil. Yes. No, whatever. Like, she seems really nice. She's a bit older than Matt. He thinks she's about 10 years older than him, but that's never stopped him before, apparently. She can teach you some stuff, Matt.
She's only 30. Spring chicken.
Yeah, bro. That's a kid in my book. He gives her a bracelet that he's found, like with some giant, like
not found, one
sapphire,
the size of his knuckle.
You can buy the whole of Eamon's Field with that bracelet. He thinks about it as this time in his life where his mouth would have gone dry if he had seen that thing, and now he's just like, yeah, whatever, take it. I got tons more where that came from. And she says, well, thank you very much. I accept your offer. And he's like, what offer? This is the same thing that Rand did with Avienda. I'm offering to court you, kind of a thing. But just then he sees Rand, speak of the devil, walking with the maidens, and he runs over to join him. And he's calling out, he's running behind, calling out, Rand, but Rand doesn't respond. And he thinks for a second, he stops, and he goes, lose Theron. And Rand stops and turns around. Yeah, big moment. And Matt immediately wishes he hadn't said that, but I'm like, I've written here as well, like, awkward. There's a little bit of silence between the two of them. Matt also wondering now, like, is Rand still my old buddy Rand? Because I just called him Luz Theron, and that got his attention. And he wonders if Perrin is still alive. Talking about friends and, talking about the good old days. He thinks about Perrin as well, what's happening with him. And don't worry, dude, Perrin's doing just fine. He got himself married. He's a lord. He saved the 2 rivers. He is just dominating. And he tells Rand at this point, he says, look, I'm thinking about leaving. I'm going to go with the wagons when they leave and all of that stuff. And Rand tells him, well, okay, I'm not going to stop you. You can do whatever you want, but the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. That's what the wheel wants is out of my control, even if I am the Dragon Reborn. And again, he warns him about Kadir or Hadnan Kadir. Don't trust that guy. And like Rand seems obsessed with this dude from the beginning, even though we know he's not one of the Forsaken now. And Matt thinks as well, like, yeah, I wouldn't trust that guy if he was tied up in a sack. Like, interesting. But I don't know why this line is there if it's not going to be like, yeah, we get it, Robert. But don't trust this guy.
It's an evil dark friend.
We don't.
Yeah. Right, regardless. It'll pop up later, I hope. So anyway, they part ways, him and Rand. And old Melindra trots up behind him again. Like how she's packed up all of his shit for him. All of his winnings in a bag. She's brought his Ashandare as well. Like, she's got his weapons and his hat and his scarf and his stuff. And she's like, yeah, come with me now. It's time for some sexy times. And then before we give them some privacy, Matt asks her quickly, like, does the daughter of the 9 moons mean anything to you? And she's like, no, it doesn't. And he's like, all right. But she whispers some stuff in his ears, which leaves him with a giant grin. And that's how we end this chapter.
And she says, but I don't know anything about the 9 moons, but I do know about things that I like to do in the moonlight. And then she whispers in his ears and he's like, oh, yes, sexy times.
Yes. Yeah, Matt has moved on from stealing kisses from serving girls. Like, he's on a whole nother level now in the West with these Aiel women.
Oh, man. The bit of the Usquai courage also helping him along.
Big time.
Oh, there's also something I noticed. He said that something is made out of that's so much softer than wool. Like, he was talking about all the different things that they have that they're growing in Rhuidean, and one of them was Elgode. You remember seeing that? I don't know if you took notice of it. But anyway, I took notice of it because
Rand that mentioned when Egwene and Moiraine came in. Egwene is wearing a white skirt and a shawl that's made of a fabric that's from a plant material that could easily be sold. That's like better than wool. I was thinking like maybe it's cotton.
It is 100% cotton because Elgode is
100% cotton.
Egyptian cotton.
I'm pretty sure it's 100% cotton.
It's a 400 thread count. Yeah, because in Spanish, the word for cotton is algodón. And it's like basically the exact same word. So as soon as I saw it, I went, cotton. So it's 100% the case that it is cotton. I will rephrase my words.
Okay. 100% cotton. I forgot something really important. Moiraine and Egwene, when they come in to see Rand in that meeting, when the clan chiefs break up afterwards, Moiraine's actually bringing one of the seals with her. She's able to chip it with a knife. This is Quentia that is being able to become real brittle, which is a real worrying, real point of concern.
Problematic, to say the least.
Yeah, don't want to be breaking
They
those.
do an important job, those unbreakable seals that can now break.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that it's super important that they be intact, even if they're brittle. Like, if you literally break that seal with your hand, you're breaking one of the seals in the Dark One's prison. Is this what I'm getting, right?
Logain straight up snaps him in the last book.
Oh, yeah, yes. So then, yes.
Okay, anything else? I was going to just move on, but I think I have something else.
Sure, lay it on us.
It's interesting that the shield on Asmodean, which I know is not a traditional shielding from the power, but it is a shield of sorts, and it is tied off because Lanfear's not around. Can't be unpicked.
I see where you're going.
Because
maybe because it's inverted.
She placed it on him. No, not because it's inverted, because he can't see the...
that's why, because it's inverted. He can't see it.
No, he wouldn't. No,
he can't see Saidar anyway.
Saidar.
Tis true.
Rand unpicks the shield that the female Aes Sedai have on him in Book 6.
Okay.
Don't think it's a male-female distinction. Don't think it's the inversion, because he can't see them anyway.
Maybe
she just tied it off.
Really good weave.
Yeah, she tied it off in some crazy knot that no one's ever heard of.
Maybe.
Triple duper slip knot.
If any of our listeners know, if they mention it ever, let us know. But yeah, I just thought, I wonder why Asmodean doesn't just unpick, because it doesn't take like a great amount of the power to unpick them either. It's not an exercise in strength. It's a exercise of dexterity.
Maybe Asmodean is just really bad at untying knots. You mean you do get those people that can unravel fishing line and people who just throw it in the bin.
I'm not one of those people. I'm the throw it in the bin kind of guy.
Rand also mentions that if Moiraine had to know that Natal was Asmodean, she would think he's gone over to the dark.
Yeah.
And that's not actually something that I paid much attention to in previous readings. This possibility of a dark dragon reborn, going to the shadow. I know that Ishamil places a lot of emphasis, almost like, to the extent of being boring about it. Like, what are you doing? Still trying to turn him, just trying to kill him, right? But I think maybe even the show triggered an additional level of me considering that, because there's a lot of talk about it in the show in context other than what I've read before. And I'm paying a bit more attention to that now. Like, there is this chance that Rand could be turned either against his will or, enticed to the shadow. And who knows what Moiraine would do if she thought that Rand had gone over to the shadow, right? Like,
She's threatened to kill him several times. I will kill you before I let you turn to the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
If she knew that Lanfear is biting him in his dreams, calling him her love, she supplies him with Asmodean, who's tied off by her weaves, so that he can teach. I mean,
it doesn't look good.
No.
Has Rand mentioned to Moiraine that Lanfear is sort of like coming to him and talking to him? I'm pretty sure that after she comes to him in the stone, doesn't Rand say something to Moiraine after Lanfear approaches him in the Stone of Tyr before that Trolloc attack? Can't remember.
Yeah,
sounds like a callback for you.
You brought that on yourself, Moritz.
I should just shut my fucking mouth.
You can just edit it out later as well.
Sure can. My last note was just, Matt's ideal girlfriend seems to be Shido. Remember that.
Don't trust her, Matt.
Okay, well, on that ominous note, did you guys pick your favorite moments? Willem, enlighten us.
But go.
Mine is
a tricky one.
Very, very, very short, very sweet. Not sweet, just short and sweet moment where Matt shouts out Rand, runs after him and shouts Rand, and Rand just keeps on walking and he shouts, "Loose, Theron!" and Rand stops.
It's interesting that Matt would do that. Hey, like,
he's drunk.
He is. I mean, not that he would have the balls to do it or something, but that's where his thoughts would go to, because Matt is not privy to Rand's inner monologue, like all the stuff that we see. He, like, if you look at Matt and what he knows about Rand, why would he think that would be effective at all? I thought it was a little bit out of place. Joe, you've got an answer to that.
I do have an answer. When they at the Battle of Falme and they summon the heroes of the Horn, they all refer to him, Rand, in front of Matt and Perrin as Lews Therin.
They do.
He already knows that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, he's Lews Therin Reborn, and blah, 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 blah. And he's long since suspected that Rand is as mad as a fucking hatter. And he knows that Rand, I mean, from the beginning when they were traveling together with the Shinarans down, he was like, Rand's already losing it. Is Rand mad already? You mad yet? Yeah. Like, he is. He's been keeping tabs on him. I think that's why. Like, he's familiar with who's Lews Therin is, and also maybe his memories. I mean, he's got all these ancient memories in his head.
He's got some old ass memories rattling around in there. Yeah. How about you, Joe?
Oh, shit. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Favorite moment. I'm just glad Matt's back. I did. I picked this one, but I'm like, Matt's back. He's drunk. He's scoring. Yeah, he's picking up Aiel girls, throwing knives and blindfolds, like just general Matt stuff, you know. Like, I'm glad it's back again. after all that serious, parent stuff from the last book. Yeah, like all duty and honor and saving the day. Here's old Matt just hanging around doing Matt stuff.
Just Matt gonna Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. Good to have some lightheartedness. Yeah.
It is, because there's a lot of heavy stuff here. We're dealing with compulsion and Forsaken, and like the clan chiefs warring, and like Rand's plans, and he's keeping the secret Forsaken as a pet, and like thinking about going mad. Look. And then here's Matt just boozing it up, philandering, and throwing knives really well.
Exactly, like
that's cool.
Is there like a pivotal moment? Or there's tons of pivotal moments, but I can't choose them as my favorite moments. Like, it's hard to choose a favorite moment, so I'm just gonna go with that.
Well, my favorite moment was Matt throwing the dagger and hitting the thing blindfolded. That moment was my favorite moment.
There we go. 3 of us, all Matt.
I did have an honorable mention for... Yes.
Matt's back, baby.
I did have an honorable mention for the meeting of all the Forsaken. Like, I'm interested, like you said, Joe, like, what is their plan, and I'm really going to try and like read between the lines now. And when Forsaken are acting or sending agents to act in a certain way, I'm going to try and put it in the context of who was together in that room. Like, there's 4 of them working together. That's a lot, like between 4 Forsaken, you can be guaranteed there's 4 plots to double cross someone. There's a lot
Ravine is thinking that. In his thoughts, like, if this doesn't work, I've got my own plans, like,
yes,
regardless of what happens, my plans are going to come out. Yeah.
So I'm going to try and see like how, like, if people even talk about things like rumors of armies moving from Ilion, or like, I just grabbed that example out of the air, and I don't think that even happens. But like, if something like that comes about, like, okay, how does that fit in with what these other 3 are trying to do, and are they trying to coordinate efforts or anything like that? I'm going to really try and pay attention to the stuff that happens off page.
Something I also thought of this morning, while I was just going over my notes pre-recording, is in the last book and up until now, very little Seanchan action. They really disappeared in book 4. We had Egian
they did.
and that dude with the tats, that Inquisitor or whatever
Sirroth
he was.
In the prologue, or in chapter 1.
But no, like, serious Seanchan. Do they come out in this book again? I know I'm asking the wrong people here, but all right, we'll have to wait and see.
I remember some Aiel stuff. I think Rand and Avienda's relationship strengthens in this book, but you can say that.
Right. No memories of this book whatsoever.
I think that memory, or like ghost of a memory again, is triggered by Avienda being on the cover of the original Fires of Heaven. She's there, and I think Rand and someone else walking through, maybe Matt walking in Camelin. I think so, yeah. Or is it next to a wagon? Fuck, I don't know.
Dice Die Mar book, this one.
Is it?
I think so. It's what I'm
putting out there. I went and got the book. Is that Camelin? Yeah, that looks like Camelin. Oh, that is Avienda. That's right. And Matt and Rand and Trollocs all around them. Of course there's Trollocs. There's always Trollocs.
There's always Trollocs. Okay, so to our listeners, send in your favorite moments and your theories and your, importantly, corrections or answers to the multitude of questions we're putting out into the ether here as we fumble our way through the story and try and discern memory from fiction, or our own fiction, I should say. And you can send those into us via any of the social media links in our episode description down below. Next time on Blood and Ashes, we will be doing chapters. We'll be covering chapters 4 through 8, which is chapter 4 is called Twilight, and chapter 8 is called Over the Border. And that's 5 chapters, not just 4. As we were saying before the show, and I think even during it, like, I'm hooked already. Like, I just want to read. I might go read a bit now just to see what's happening. And that's at 10:30 at night after recording this podcast. I'm keen to go read a bit. That's how excited I am. Billy looks like he's going to hit the hay.
Good night, Billy.
Well, on that final note, then, we will say goodnight to all of our listeners and our friends, and we will see you all next time.
Adios.
Good afternoon.